Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock p.m. and serves as the city's policy-making and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the Chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. The Chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at www.siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting www.siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City government. Test. That's it. Jameson?
Here.
Karski?
Here.
Kiley?
Here.
Rolfing?
Okay. Thank you so much. We are very, very pleased to have Dr. Eric McCandless back to lead us with our invocation. He's with the Empire Baptist Temple here in Sioux Falls. Doctor, thank you. What we'd ask you to do is to stand for the invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Doctor?
Our Father, we thank you tonight for the privilege to be able to call on you for times like these. Lord, in these ages, we certainly need your wisdom. We need your ability to see past today and see into our futures, that we might provide wise decisions for those who follow in our footsteps. Lord, give us that wisdom tonight, and also give us the courage to follow that. Give us the ability to lay out some groundwork that many generations later they will praise what's done in these simple settings. We thank you for that privilege tonight, and we call on you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. Is Jenna here, please? Oh, Jenna, welcome. Thank you for being here. I do have a proclamation that I'd like to read, and the proclamation reads, well, first of all, Jenna, would you mind just introducing yourself to the people of our town, and why are you here tonight?
Sure. My name is Jenna Mollenhoff. I'm here on behalf of the Brave Kids Bold Cures initiative to help spread awareness about childhood cancer awareness. During the month of September, a lot of people know October for breast cancer awareness, September is for the children. My daughter, Anna, was diagnosed with cancer just a little over 4 years ago. And, I'm honored to be part of the planning committee for Brave Kids Bold Cures and try to help with better treatments and better cures.
Whereas reports show cancer is a leading cause of death by disease among children in the United States and is detected in more than 15,000 of our nation's young people each and every year. Whereas Sanford Children's Hospital in Sioux Falls is designated as South Dakota's only children's oncology group hospital and is dedicated to helping these children and their families. Whereas Sanford Children's Hospital is home to the state's only Brave Kids, Bold Cures program and provides a variety of vital patient and family services to children undergoing cancer treatment, thereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and, yes, their families. Whereas, like other forms of cancer, childhood cancer has an international symbol, the gold ribbon. This symbol is being introduced to our region with the goal of uniting together to fight childhood cancer and create awareness about its devastating toll on children and their families. Whereas the goal of Brave Kids, Bold Cures campaign is to make a difference in the lives of childhood cancer patients, childhood cancer survivors, and their families, as well as memorializing those childhood cancer victims who have earned their angel wings. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim September 2015 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Sioux Falls. Jenna, thank you for being here. We wish your family the very, very best. And thanks for bringing this to all of our attention tonight. A round of applause, please. Council, thank you so much. We'll now move to our consent agenda. Any motions, discussion, changes?
Move for approval.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Any discussion? Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Now our regular agenda. Council, any changes to that?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Anderson.
It's been a motion to approve our agenda tonight, and it has been seconded. Any discussion? Councilor.
Motion to approve the regular agenda.
We did that.
We did that, and we have been seconded. Would you want to make a motion to amend the regular agenda?
Let's see here. Motion to amend the regular agenda by moving item 47 before item 46.
Second, Erpenbach.
Thank you. There has been a motion to agenda our meeting agenda tonight by moving item 47 before item 46. Has been seconded. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
This is a vote on the amendment.
Yes.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Council, would you want to vote on the amended motion now, please?
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson? Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. That's passed 7-0. Folks, welcome to tonight's meeting. We're certainly glad to have everybody here. This is a great opportunity for you to engage your city council, really on any topic that you want that's of interest to you. If it is an agenda item later on, and I know there's a number of folks here who want to speak on something later on, we'd ask you to just wait until that point in tonight's meeting. But if there's something else you want to discuss, just come forward. Two things we'd ask: introduce yourself to the people of our town, and then secondly, if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would appreciate that. Welcome.
Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. First thing I want to do is publicly thank Heather Hitherdahl, the mayor's assistant, for granting me media status yesterday. It's been a long, hard fight to get it, and I finally have it, so I will be asking more questions during city council meetings and at city press conferences, and my camera will be there. And the other reason I'm here today, and the reason I was there yesterday, was at yesterday's media event was the reason I go to all these meetings with my camera. And it's to document the process. Because there's a lot of us in Sioux Falls who never get a chance to go to these meetings and to watch it and participate. And so the first time we get to go to one of these meetings is the time we have some kind of a problem. And so I've decided to take my camera, and we post it on YouTube. It's on southdakota.com, just so that everybody can see what it is we're trying to accomplish. And we want to make city government less fearful. And it was a hard time, as many of you know from when I started coming up here, that I was having a tough time trying to express myself and what I was trying to do. And so I'm here tonight to say thank you to Heather for giving me that access that I've been asking for and make sure it happens. And then I also want this city council, in the discussion last week in the working session, which I would really love to have televised so that people can actually see the questions you ask. I've recorded working sessions. I appreciate what you do in them. Sometimes it's a little dry, but sometimes, Michelle, you've actually said some things that were fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. And I love documenting that to let the public see what we're doing, you know, when we come to these meetings and we can sit and watch. And the other side of it is, I would dearly love to have the Parks Board meeting be the first board that sits in this beautiful building, in this beautiful room, and is recorded so that the rest of the city can see what is being discussed and the millions of dollars that the Parks Board is deciding what to do with is decided at these meetings in unusual places, in unusual times, and we can't ever find them. And I started recording them and I started hunting them out just to be able to document what goes on in these meetings. And I've learned a tremendous amount. And people that have watched the videos have also commented back to me saying that they didn't realize that these boards actually did as much as they did. Last year I did the ethics board. I had a couple of issues with the ethics board. And it's been very stimulating to find out what attorneys actually think of the ethics board and what it does. And if we could put these meetings, start out with the Parks Board and build our way towards the other quasi-judicial boards that the city has, like the ethics board, the zoning board, you know, all of these different boards that actually have to make some kind of judicial finding that then comes to this board, we can see what the process is. And then just put it up on YouTube. There won't be any cost other than the time it takes to transfer it up to YouTube. You don't have to do any fancy graphics or anything, just get it up there. And it would be there. We do a lot of other things. You know, the mayor, you have your learning listening sessions, and there's all these other things that go up there that are just kind of, I'm sorry, they're kind of fluff pieces. And we want to be able to actually see how the city of Sioux Falls governs. And we have all this fantastic equipment in this room, and it would be wonderful to be able to see how many of these boards could actually use this equipment.
So go ahead. Go ahead and go. Okay. Greg Neitzer, Sioux Falls. I want to talk about the upcoming billion rezoning proposal. The proposal is to rezone the entire block except for the dental office, as you know, to C4. That's the most intense commercial zoning that there is, and that's required because there's about 420 parking spaces they're proposing. The right-of-way between the proposal and the single-family homes to the west is a local street, and it's even smaller than a normal one. That's about 54 feet, I think. So let's let that sink in for just a minute. We're looking at putting the most intense commercial use there is 50 feet from single-family homes. We're not even talking about a collector or an arterial street separating the uses. And now that we've vacated Duluth, we're going to push more traffic over to the residential neighborhood. Based on the comprehensive plan, it doesn't mean you can never do it, but it does mean the buffering will have to be extensive and it will have to be extreme. Because of the zoning district to the west and the north. And as you probably all know this famous little compatibility chart. We have single-family homes next to the most intense commercial, so why a rating of 2 instead of 1? The answer comes down to the methodology of the matrix and the use of the current zoning of the single-family homes next to billion. The rating is based on the adjacent zoning district, not the existing uses adjacent to it. These single-family homes have the bad luck of being zoned RD1, which is a twin home district.
Point of order. This isn't fair to this gentleman that we can't hear what he's saying because of the sound. Can we have a resolution until, or something, until sound is restored? I can't understand what he's saying. I'm sorry. It's just not fair to him.
I think the council can hear. Probably the folks at home probably can't hear.
Right? And which would be a lot of people from my understanding. And I'm not hearing that well. No offense, but I just want him to have the opportunity to be heard. And I don't believe it's being heard. It's coming and going. Try. Can you hear me now? I just want to be fair to the public. That's all I'm asking.
Well, it's back now. I can just, if I need to, I'll try to speak up. Okay, sure. So, speaking of the zoning, so the residential neighborhood next to it is zoned RD1, which is twin home. Does that remind anybody of something else, like the Twin Eagle neighborhood, for example? So why were they designated RD1 with shaped places? Were any of these property owners asked or notified? That question is rhetorical. What if these were zoned single family, for example, RT1 residential traditional? The rating then would be a 1 instead of a 2. So based on what is really there, we have the worst compatibility rating. So what does the comprehensive plan say about that, about the worst compatibility rating? So if we go to that and we take a look at a 1, it's a high incompatibility. The new zoning district is incompatible with adjacent land uses. In general, the proposed districts with this level of conflict should not be permitted. So maybe we should consider scoring based on what is really there than what the property is zoned. As I stated before, a 45-foot buffer yard would be required, but they can reduce it 50% because of the local right-of-way. And Billion proposes to do a 25-foot buffer yard with a 4-foot berm. To the city's credit, they state because this level of conflict that they recommend requiring an alternative site plan instead, which would require more. Staff recommends 2 conditions on the rezone, 113 parking spaces for employees and an alternative site plan. I want you to consider a few things before this comes to you. If you're even going to consider this, I would add a 3rd condition that no new structures in the newly rezoned area can be built. If that stipulation is not added, there's nothing stopping Billion from adding structures later. In terms of the employee parking stipulation, that hinges on the applicant following the rules and the staff enforcing it, which I'm not entirely convinced about. As far as the alternative site plan, it's a great idea in general, but there's one major problem with the alternative site plan. That is approved by the Planning Commission. There's no appeal. It won't come to you. So it's important in that month between the Planning Commission and the City Council meeting, the 2nd reading, that they get that plan ready. And if they do not have it ready, you need to defer. You need to have the final say on the exact alternative site plan, because if you pass the rezone, it's over. They can do whatever they want with the alternative site plan, and you have vacated that road, so you have a responsibility to protect that neighborhood. So I want you to make sure that you sign off on whatever alternative site plan they come up with. There's no way, I guess, I would do this unless there was a extreme buffer yard. And even that, I don't think I would probably do that. There probably needs to be some sort of transition. We don't have any transition here. And as I said, unfortunately, we have an issue where this neighborhood is zoned RD, so they're being treated essentially as a transition to single family when they are single family. So this neighborhood really ought to be in here asking for a city-initiated rezone to be made single family, and they need to be protected. And the last point I guess I would make is, we're running into, I think, an issue where we have to balance and try to figure out how do we deal with a growing city where I understand getting rid of accesses because traffic is getting worse and we have these commercial pockets, but we also have existing residential neighborhoods who have a unique character, and we have to determine how do we balance that. Are we just going to bulldoze these neighborhoods and tell these people that live there, too bad, this is progress, or are we going to do something where we're going to give them some sort of protection? And that's the line you have to try to figure out. Thanks.
Greg, thanks for your comments. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council before we move on? Thank you very much. Item 20, please.
Item 20 is a conditional use permit appeal 3096-2015. A conditional use permit in the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District was approved to allow on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of a sensitive use at the northeast corner of West 85th Street and South Louise Avenue.
Good evening, Diane DeCoyer with Planning. This is a conditional use appeal. It was heard last month in August at Planning Commission. The applicant for this is Bryant Solberg. The location is the northeast corner of West 85th and South Louise Avenue. It is approximately 3.15 acres. The request is the RE3 form to allow on-sale alcohol within 500 feet of sensitive use. The applicant would like to occupy 2 tenant spaces in a future multi-tenant retail building. Each of the tenant spaces would contain an on-sale alcohol beverage establishment. For an on-sale alcohol establishment, the conditional use permit standard is fourfold. 1, the on-sale alcohol establishment must have all parking spaces within the on-site parking lot in close proximity and facing the entrance. 2, lighting may be considered to provide illumination for security and safety of parking access areas. On-site lighting plans must be submitted for review and approval. 3, soundproofing may be considered to prevent noise and vibrations from penetrating into surrounding properties or leased space. And 4, a security management plan shall be provided to the police department. The appeal by neighbors had the following concerns: safety for children, traffic in the area, and neighborhood ambiance. There are traffic counts that should have been included within your packet, and I'll just give a brief overview of that. This is based on trips per 1,000 square foot at the PM peak times. For video lottery, it's 13.43. For a fast food restaurant, it's 52.40. For a gasoline service station, it's 97.14. For comparisons to the video lottery, again, 13.43 is a bar without full service, full service food. That's 11.34. Printing and express ship store is 12.27. A walk-in bank is 12.13. And a movie rental store is 13.60. This information was provided by Heath Hofteaser with Traffic Engineering. If the conditional use permit tonight is denied, then items 26 through 29 must also be denied. So I can answer any questions if you might have.
Diane, thank you. Denny, can I go to the folks in the audience first and ask them for comments? Yes. Thank you. Folks, if there's anybody who wants to talk about this item, please just come forward now. Again, we just ask you to introduce yourself to the people of our town. If you can keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, we'd appreciate that. As well as if there's items that you want to go before or against something, we'd ask you to listen to the prior comments and try not to be repetitive in those comments. So welcome.
Thank you. Charlotte Miller. My husband and I live in a 26-family twin home association, 18 owner-occupied, known as Falcon Ridge, directly west across Louise Avenue of the property in question. Also attending tonight are several of our association members who I'd like to ask to stand now. Additionally, 26 Falcon Ridge neighbors, owners and renters alike, have signed this rebuttal against on-sale liquor being within 500 feet of our community. While I have absolutely no legal background nor have I sought legal counsel in this matter, I've made an effort to approach the topic from a legal standpoint rather than emotional. I learned while reading the summary of the Supreme Court of South Dakota decision number 25897, dated September 2011, that the Supreme Court, that the state of South Dakota holds nearly all the powers of the gaming industry. The summary referred to South Dakota Codified Law 427A64. So, of course, my next computer search was SDCL 427A64, which addresses, quote, additional criteria for on-sale alcohol beverage licenses in video lottery licensed establishments, end quote. council members, and Mr. Mayor. I certainly intend no impression otherwise, because I'm sure that you're very apprised of these laws. I simply found them instructional for my background. Therefore, the items that municipalities may consider are the following. 1, the number of establishments currently licensed for video lottery. Number 2, the proximity of the business to other establishments established for video lottery. 3, the type of business and manner in which the applicant proposes to operate it. 4, the location of the business in relation to other businesses, residential areas, or activities within the same general area. 5, the extent to which minors frequent a business connected to the one proposed. 6, the effect the proposed business has on economic development. Let's examine number 4, the location of the business in relation to other businesses, residential areas, or activities within the same general area. 11 years ago, when we moved there, the property in question was a residential acreage. The owners died. The house was sold and moved off property, and approximately 8 years ago, the empty property was zoned commercial. About the same time, the 96 Rosecrest townhomes were built just north of the property in question. The proposed strip mall, as shown in the plot by Kello, on a broadcast on August 27th entitled Casino Going into 85th and Louise Strip Mall, is within 100 feet. Yes, 100 feet of townhomes with numerous children inhabiting them. The reference to activities in number 4, the applicant is asking to use the exact same private road for their business as the townhomes whose children meet the school bus at Rambler Place and Louise Avenue. In this case, I believe activity could easily cause safety concerns for children. Still on number 4, the location of the business in relation to other businesses. There are no other retail businesses within a half a mile, any direction, of the subject property. Moreover, there are 6 empty storefronts between 76th and 78th on Louise, never occupied, still have the construction gravel floors since being built about 6 years ago. If these strip mall bays, closer to more rooftops, can't be filled, I'm of the opinion that it will be difficult to fill the spots on the subject property, except, of course, a casino which is already supposedly leased. Opinion again. But it seems to me that a casino in a remote location with easy access to major streets is ripe for robberies. Number 5, the extent to which minors frequent a business connected to the one proposed. In this case, it's not a business connected to the property that's a concern. It's the minors' homes that are connected. Again, on-sale alcohol and children in homes within 100 feet just do not mix. I realize that you are the body of last resort. Normally, the city council enacts laws, and in cases like tonight also acts as the judicial branch of government. I think the request for on-sale liquor at 85th and Louise clearly does not meet standard of 2 of the 6 items a municipality may consider according to South Dakota law. 1, proximity to residential, and 2, proximity to minors. In education, my background, if a student is unable to answer 2 of 6 questions, his or her numerical score is 66%, i.e. no pass. I also urge you to consider implications to all developers and builders if you should allow this variance. If you allow this variance, it clearly, in my opinion, tells developers and builders to go ahead with whatever project they want, wherever they want, even if it clearly violates, in this case, 2 of the 6 items decided by the South Dakota State Supreme Court. I also ask you to follow through with the ordinances that this body, you, previously passed, that there must be a quarter-mile setback from major intersections for business entrances. According to my 25-foot tape measure, It's 295 feet from 85th and Louise to the entrance for this proposed business. A little shy of the 1,320 feet for a quarter mile. So now we have 2 state laws and 1 city ordinance being violated if this variance is approved. Please, do not pass the request for on-sale liquor at 85th and Louise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mel. Council, I did let that go on longer just because it seemed like she was representing her neighborhood. She had the petition, so that's why I did that. I hope you understand. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Gould. I live on 85th Street. I was at a planning and zoning meeting when this lady spoke, and I couldn't help but hear what she said. And so I thought I would say something at the time, and I thought I would repeat it again tonight. So this is the deal. I mean, a lot of times people read the paper, they see it on the news, something's going on in the neighborhood, and they don't like it, and they want to make some kind of a protest. And so they go to the first place. In this case, it was a planning commission. And she said, well, what about traffic? What about kids? When a gentleman stood up and said, well, this is a drinking establishment. There's a counseling center, Keystone, nearby. What about that? What about lighting? What about traffic? All these kinds of things. And at no time were those allowed to be talked about. They said, no, wait a minute. We cannot talk about that. That's none of our business. We can only talk about things within 500 feet of a residential area. They would not let those responses from the neighborhood even affect their decision because they were not allowed to talk about those things, and we're told that many times. We can only talk about 500 feet within a residential area, even though her arguments, I thought, were sound. They would only entertain 500 feet within a residential area. Could you go to the next slide? Keep going. Go back. There was one that showed them in yellow. There, right there. Thank you. So according to them, the only thing they were allowed to talk about was those yellow boxes that are within 500 feet of the area, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas that is within 500 feet of residential. Well, it broke that in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas. And it still passed unanimously. Well, and I guess my question to them and to you is, what's the point? If you set a standard of 500 feet, shouldn't you hold to that standard? I mean, you, as in the government, came up with the standard. If it was 300 feet, well, it's 300 feet. If it was 1,000 feet, it was 1,000 feet. The standard is there, I'm presuming, for the protection of the people in one way or another, and it's 500 feet. I realize that there may be exceptions to the rule, one of which was brought up Craven at 175 feet. Well, those are exceptions to the rule. Are we then saying that those are now the rule? That now everything's 175 feet? Or are we looking at this as the rule? I believe there are enough places in Sioux Falls that we can enjoy an adult beverage or a gaming. I don't think there's a shortage. I'm not against these institutions personally. I just think that if we have a 500-foot buffer, maybe we should hold to that standard and listen to what these neighbors are saying. Thank you.
Mr. Gould, thank you. Welcome.
Greg Neitzer. The last 2 speakers were unbelievable. They were great. I just wanted to say, as you may recall, a couple weeks ago I spoke to you about this particular hearing, not knowing until the next day that it was appealed. And I will agree that the meeting was a total travesty. Their due process was violated. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but it was a joke. Just to throw out, and I guess make it clear from the guy who reads the zoning ordinance all the time, in the 1983 ordinance, an off-sale liquor establishment was always a conditional use. So even if it was 3,000 feet away, it always required a conditional use permit. So the model that they went with Shaped Places was, let's get rid of some unnecessary conditional uses. So if you have a off-sale liquor establishment, for example, a mile away from anything in the middle of a field, why have a conditional use hearing? Nobody cares. But it did not eliminate conditional use permit hearings. It made it what's called a special permitted use. So if it's beyond 500 feet of sensitive uses, they can just get their permit and go, no public hearing. If it's within 500 feet, we end up here, we're at the Planning Commission, to talk about it, because it is assumed that it could be so problematic and there could be problems that we need to have real human beings look at it and look and see the context of the neighborhood, what's really there. And I'm not even going to tell you how to vote on this one. I'm just telling you that that is the reason why we're here, and you have wide latitude to impose conditions or deny it. And the neighbors and everybody there was told at that meeting it couldn't be denied and you couldn't add conditions. That's not what the code says. It's a personal opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that. Welcome.
Mm-hmm. Bruce Danielson. I have a presentation that I just need to start here. This is one of the reasons why I think video is incredibly important for everything that we're talking about, because in the last month, there have been some video presentations all involved with this issue that I think highlight. And there won't be any sound at some points of it, so don't worry.
Sensitive uses are single family, churches, schools. So if there's a sensitive use, then we're going to have the public hearing.
We're going to see it cut in and out of what the points are of what Jeff and the different people that are in this video.
But with conditions. So then you really have to, as Planning Commission and the neighbors go, well, what conditions do we want to put on them? And you try to make sure that we're looking at them all the same. Depending on whether neighbors show up for the East 26th Street one, but not the 85th and Louise one, we want to make sure that we're consistent and we regulate them the same. How much landscaping they have, what their lighting is, what the signage requirements are, that we make sure that we're consistent throughout and we don't say, you know what?
What he was doing was taking three pieces of property in very different parts of town, lumping them all together and trying to say they all were the same thing. And they weren't. We had some people here at a meeting that are here again tonight talking about these real issues in their neighborhood.
On this one, the building has to be yellow, but on this one, you have to put brick on it. And you go, okay, why? That's not a condition on an on-sale. Those just don't make any sense.
Right.
Pink flowers on this one, and this one has to have petunias. And that doesn't help you mitigate the impacts of an on-sale bar.
These people aren't talking about colors on buildings or planting flowers in front of the building. They want to address real concerns for the enjoyment of their property.
And this is where public input does come in.
Yeah.
I think to really benefit the Planning Commission as well, is because then we better understand concerns and can hopefully help place some conditions that make sense on this. And
conditions really have to mitigate the impact that this is going to have to your neighborhood.
These applications...
And I think it is important that the public does know that that's what we really do listen to. You know, that's when we really do appreciate the public coming forward and saying, these are our concerns, can you help us out? And do our best to do that.
Yes.
Sorry, these applications don't occur in a vacuum. There's actual concerns here by all of these people that are here talking tonight. And he's only talking about 4 conditions. And there's a lot of other things we've learned about.
The way I understand the conditional use permit is the use is allowed with conditions, right?
That's correct. It's an allowed use, and it's allowed with conditions because it's within 500 feet. If it was within 400 feet, we'd never even be talking about it.
Yeah, they would just be able to bill it and be fine. But since it's within 500 feet...
We have to look at the 4 conditions.
And the 4 conditions we have, do you want to go over those just one more time?
The 4 conditions you can look at. You don't get to approve or deny it. You get to look at the 4 conditions. The parking spaces, the lighting, the soundproofing, and a security management plan.
You as a council can't go in and deny a conditional use permit. And so what we're asking here in this whole process is, once again, they don't occur in a vacuum. They exist on a parcel that's in a neighborhood that have real concerns about their neighborhoods. These people were there first. And if we're going to have zoning rules and laws, then we have to pay particular attention to the people that are there and fit the new application into those neighborhoods and forget about green and red dots and whatever other colors we want to put on maps. These are real neighborhoods that need to be preserved. They were there first. And thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate that. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Thank you very much. Council, any discussion on this item? Yes, Councilor Karski.
Is the applicant here?
Councilor? Sir, would you mind just introducing yourself to the, you've got questions for the applicant.
Please.
Sir, would you mind just introducing yourself to the people of our town?
Sure. Good afternoon. It's Brian Soberg at 330 North Main.
Good. Brian Solberg.
Yes.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Welcome, Brian. Just curious, we heard that you're looking actually for 2 malt beverage licenses and 2 retail wine licenses. Are you going to have 2 casinos here? Are you going to be serving alcohol at both of them?
Well, as you know, casinos in Sioux Falls are allowed 10 machines per beer license. And of course, there are times for us when, let's say, Friday night or something, where we're, we may be busy or something, we'd like some overflow. So it's that simple. We want a little more room to be able to have, more business.
So you are going to have 2 casinos and you are going to be serving?
Yeah. I assume at this time, or at the beginning when we open it, I assume our second one, the second one in there, will not have, be open all the time, basically. I'm assuming we would have it more on Friday nights and, limited staff, and open on those times we predict will be busy.
So you're going to have one location only open a few days a week, I'm sorry?
Right, yes.
And alcohol would be served at both locations on those days?
That's our plan for now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Kiley.
For the applicant, why didn't you have the building owner build the space to suit your needs? Why 2 separate spaces?
Because that's city and state law. We have to have 2 separate spaces. A casino can only be so big, can only have 10 lottery machines in there.
But you only need 1 license for the 1 space.
Right. So we have 2 licenses in case there's times where we feel we'll be busy, like on a Friday night, and maybe there's, 15 people in there or something.
Yes, Councilor Jamieson.
No question for Brian, but perhaps maybe Diane or Danny, the
Brian,
city attorney.
please sit down, sir.
May I make a statement, or should I come back up? Or
as long as you're here, if
sure. Brian, you had the opportunity when we had asked, but
I missed it.
So very good. Go ahead.
I just want to, address some of the neighbors' concerns, and I appreciate their concerns. What I plan to do there is to have a local neighborhood casino. We want it well run. We don't want problems in there. We don't want, bad situation or a bad environment. We want a safe environment for people that come in there. We don't want to overserve people. Our business is not to serve beer, overserve people. Our business is gaming. And so I noticed on one of the complaints that they were talking about liquor. We don't serve liquor, and we don't serve off sale. We're just on sale beer only and wine. It's in our best interest to run it properly and cater to our customers, which is someone who gambles and not someone who drinks a lot. It's a small place. I mean, we have seating for, possibly 15 in each bay, each location, with 10 video lottery machines in there. So there isn't a lot of people in there at that time. And, and again, I want to reiterate, we don't run it like a bar. And I think this is better than, it's zoned commercial now, so it's certainly possible for a bar to go in one of these locations or a restaurant or something like Craven, which takes up a lot of parking. There's a lot of people that, drink beer more so than in our location. So I just want to reiterate that. And, there's 3 of these 4 corners on 85th and Louisa are zoned commercial and going north. And I think we have to take that in consideration. So, I think that's all I have to say.
Brian, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Sir, if you just stay close by, just in case, appreciate that. Councilor James, did you have a question for anybody else?
Diane, yeah.
Diane, thank you. Thank you, Diane.
Or Danny, whoever can help me on a couple of questions here. So of the, some of the comments that were made earlier about the 4 conditions or the 4 items for conditional use standards, could we add anything to those 4? I mean, that's a question.
Answer that, Danny Brown, City Attorney's Office. The City Council, those 4 standards that were talked about, those are minimum standards.
Minimum.
So the City Council, in their discretion, can add additional considerations.
Makes sense, perfect. And could we ever deny a conditional use permit?
Yes.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, that's it for now.
Councilor, thank you. Yes, Councilor Erickson.
For the applicant, please. When we were talking about the 2 locations that might just be open a little bit here and there if you're busy or not, is it all one facility or is it 2 actual doors and one's called Casino A and one's called Casino B?
Right.
Or is it, I know some locations have a front entrance and a back entrance and use different addresses but are still on the same building. So would that be the same case?
It's 2 separate, front entrances, and I would assume rear entrances, 2 separate locations.
So is there a wall between the facility?
You go out one and go in the other, go outside, go in the other.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted clarification on that.
Councilor Erickson, if I could, you did ask a question that I don't think Brian asked, and that was whether they're going to be 2 separate businesses with separate titles. Are there going to be 2 separate businesses with 2 separate names?
Same name. We haven't come up with an actual name of each place, but it'll be a Deuces Casino on one, and the other, it'll probably be Deuces 2 or something, or we, and we plan on having probably 1 sign over for the 2 locations, it's almost like it's a separate business. We have 2 separate licenses, we're trying to apply for 2 separate beer licenses.
But, Mr. Mayor, if I may
Yes,
follow up,
Councilor Erickson.
what I'm trying to wrap my head around this is, okay, there's 150, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. So you've got those last 2 on the end that I'm looking at. Is that wall going to remain between the 2? Will you have separate federal ID numbers? Not that that's, I just see a lot of businesses, casinos, have an entrance of 123 Main Street and then 123 First Ave. And this is the building, and you can get anywhere if you go in the back door or the front door, but there's 2 different addresses. Is that going to be the same?
Yeah, 2 separate addresses.
Is it the same building?
It's in the same building. It's strip mall.
Is there a wall between?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, is anybody else understanding, or are you?
A wall going down, between that 100 and 110, 100% filled in.
Can't get in between each business.
No, you go outside.
And come in.
Go in the.
Yeah. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Bach.
Thank you. I'm so confused about that piece of it right now. I need to talk about traffic just for a minute if I can. I looked at those numbers and I understand if we put a convenience store on that corner, the traffic would be much higher. Is that correct, Diane? Is that the guess based on the numbers?
It's based on a per 1,000 square foot, and this is at the PM peak. So again, video lottery, that's 13.43 per 1,000 square feet of that business. A fast food restaurant is 52.40 per 1,000. Gasoline service station, 97.14 per 1,000. And then the comparables that we did with a bar without full service restaurant, printing and express ship store, a walk-in bake, and movie rental. Those are more comparable to what the video lottery casino would be.
So then I realize that the conditional use concern is 500 feet to those single-family homes, but but the apartment buildings are way within the 500 feet. They're super, and full of kids. And it's my understanding then that that street that is on the graph, or that's on the drawing on the screen right now, is the street that those kids use to get to the bus, to get to school. That's my understanding. So my question is there another way out of that apartment building there, the apartment complex on that north side? Or is this the only driveway for that apartment building?
I would think there is something there to the north, but this map doesn't indicate anything further up, so I don't know for sure the answer of that. But I would think typically we would have another access, in this case onto Louise Avenue.
I would do that. Then could you tell me then too, Diane, what is the building that is to the east of this that we're talking about?
To the east, that is also low-density apartments.
Could I, Mr. Mayor, could I ask the neighbors something? One of the neighbors,
Sure.
Mrs. Miller, could you answer that question for me about the driveway coming out of the apartments to the north? Because I think it was in your presentation or in one of the letters from the folks, and I so appreciate when neighbors see these things. But
Rambler Place is the only entrance exit to the 96 townhomes of Rosecrest.
So if we can just be really, really clear. On the map that's on there now, it's an aerial shot of this piece of property. That driveway that you see that runs into the back of this future casino is the only way in and out of those apartments there.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Kiley, before I go to you, I do want to, Councilor Staggers or Councilor Anderson Jr., did you have any questions or comments before I go back to Councilor Kiley?
No, go ahead, Mayor.
Councilor Staggers? No, go ahead. Thank you, sir. Councilor Kiley.
I would just like clarification of what the applicant had indicated, that the establishment is limited to X number of video lottery machines or is it based on square footage? I'd like to get confirmation on that. I mean, regardless how big the establishment is, you can only have X number of machines, or is it based on the square footage of the establishment?
Danny, do you know the answer to that question, sir?
No, I don't. I don't know if Jamie Palmer can help me out on that one.
Jamie, would you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Yes, per license, they are allowed 10 video lottery machines. So in order to have the 2 casinos, he would have to have a license in both in order to have 10 machines in both buildings.
Jamie, does size of the building have anything to do with anything?
No, it does not. It has to be
Councilor
per
Kyle?
license.
Good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good question, sir. Thank you, Jamie. Yes, Councilor Karski.
Another question for the applicant, if I may.
Mr. Solberg?
Yes.
Will either of these establishments' primary source of revenue come from the sale of tobacco, and will smoking be allowed on the premises?
No, no sale of tobacco, no smoking.
Okay.
Smoking will not be allowed?
No.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Jameson?
To move this topic along, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second, Karski.
It's been a motion to approve this conditional use permit, and it has been seconded. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Jameson?
This corner is I would call it a remnant of our old design standards for commercial development. Thank you. The access points for all these corners are going to be a problem. The owner of the property, I'm sure, is challenged in selling them. He's found somebody who's willing to do something. I get that. Traffic will go up if it's something other than the casino. And that's not going to sit well with the neighbors either, but all the other pieces that the neighbors talked about, the ambiance of the neighborhood, just the fact that it's that close to single-family homes, it just doesn't fit. It isn't right. And it sets a new standard. We set the standard with shaped places. We need to commit to that. The applicant, I'm sure, will find another location somewhere else in our great city to do what he needs to and wants to do, but we shouldn't compromise the neighbors for that end. So I just urge you to vote no on this application.
Okay, yes.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just want to understand there's going to be a strip mall there anyway. The landowner is selling a strip mall there, right? My concern is, and I'm voting with you, Councilor Jameson, but my concern is that housing development to the north, I think the way that you said it is exactly right. We have a new standard now. I'm sorry, but we do. And it's time then that those housing developments need to figure out how they're going to get their kids on the buses that are away from those commercial areas, whether it's a bar or whatever. We need to figure this out a little bit differently. And this is one of those corners that has the opportunity to change that option going forward. But right now, it's not a good situation for anything to go in there. So I encourage my colleagues to vote no.
Very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Stagg.
There was an individual who wanted to say something.
And sir, we're past. You've been a councilor a lot longer than I've been a mayor. We're past that time, sir.
Well,
a roll
it's
call
always
vote,
good
please.
to allow people to speak.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Erickson? No. Erpenbach?
No.
Jameson?
No.
Karski?
No.
Kylie?
No.
That is failed 1-6. Item 21.
Yeah.
Okay, so my understanding, we're going to be reading items 21 through 25 and then voting on those. Then items 26 through 29, voting on those, and items 30 to 36, and then voting on those. So item 21, new 2015 full-service restaurant on-sale liquor license, including Sunday sales certificate for MRP/Sioux Falls DT LLC, Mackenzie River Pizza Grill and Pub, 234 South Main Avenue, full-service restaurant, CUP not required, pending final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 22 is a new 2015 retail wine license, including video lottery terminals for Crown Gaming Incorporated, Crown Casino Central 2, 1721 South Minnesota Avenue, with conditional use permit 3084-2015, being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 23 is a new 2015-16 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for Crown Gaming Incorporated, Crown Casino Central 2, 1721 South Minnesota Avenue, with conditional use permit 3084-2015, being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 24 is a new 2015 retail wine license, including video lottery terminals for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings, Deuces Casino 7.5, 4713 East 26th Street, with conditional use permit 2928-2015, being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 25 is a new 2015-16 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings, Deuces Casino 7.5, 4713 East 26th Street, with conditional use permit 2928-2015, being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 21 is a new license type. It's a full-service restaurant on sale that is offered because of a change in state law in 2008. The only time I can offer those is when there are not regular retail liquor licenses available. And so this is the first one that the city has sold. So items 22 and 25 are for casinos. They're the standard retail wine and retail malt beverage licenses that would allow video lottery on those locations.
Jamie, thank you. Council? Yes, Councilor Erickson. Councilor Karski?
Yeah, question on, I don't know if Jamie or the applicant, if they're, I think it's the same one. The same thing here, we're at 1721 South Minnesota Avenue. That's a small building, and we're adding a second wine and malt beverage license to a fairly small location. Is there room for this? I mean, what standards do we have to apply here? How does this work? Why do we need four licenses in one location, basically?
Yeah, as long as the two facilities are completely separate, that you have to go outside to get into the other one, that's the one stipulation that is required to have two retail malt and wine licenses so close together. But as far as that, I might let the applicant speak to his business, if he's still here.
Councilor Karski, did you want the applicant to speak to this?
Yeah, I guess I would like to.
Is the applicant here, please, in the audience? Okay, you're part of this business. Very good. Welcome. If you could just introduce yourself to our town, please.
Hi, I'm Liza Holbert.
Hi, Liza.
Hi.
Liza, are you going to be serving alcohol in both of these locations?
Yes. What it is, it's one building. The one that I manage is Crown Central on 26th in Minnesota. We have our main space. Then we have another building that used to be a dress shop that the building owners had. That closed. It's our storage room. It's not as big as our main space, but it's certainly big enough to have more than 10 machines, which obviously you can only have 10 machines. But like Bri was saying, there's Friday nights and Saturday nights where we have 10 machines going in our main casino. If we have the space next door, I can have another employee working over on my other side on Friday and Saturday nights, and then I can have it open then.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Erickson.
Just kind of to piggyback off of that, for this location, do you have cigarette vending or any vending,
We have
cigarette
a vending machine, yes.
Okay, so do you allow any on-premise smoking?
No.
You cannot smoke in the building,
They
period?
can smoke outside.
For the Crown Casino, you cannot
For
smoke?
Crown or Deuces?
Both.
We have both of them. The Deuces, I'm not real familiar with because I don't run that one. At Crown Central, we have a smoking room.
Okay, what is a smoking room?
Smoking room it's a smoke shack. We sell tobacco, the cigarette machine, and that's what you can do in there.
Can you drink in there? Can you gamble in there? Or is it just a room that you can?
You can gamble in there.
Okay, but you can't drink?
No, according to the city law. The state law says that you can, the city says that we can't, so.
So it's like a closet?
No, it's a small room. It's bigger than a closet.
And so.
But that will go away if we add on, because that section is in the spare space that we have now.
Are there any of your other locations, do you have smoke rooms, or is it just that Crown Casino?
The ones that I run, no, but there may be other ones that I don't run.
Councilor Carley.
A follow-up to Councilor Erickson. So they can gamble in there, but they don't drink in there. But do you have a liquor license for that room?
That falls under the main casino. Yes, they do. That's why the state told us that you could drink in there.
So you have a liquor license, but you don't sell liquor?
No, we do not sell anything.
It's
except tobacco.
for
but
the
not
purpose
liquor.
of smoking?
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Erickson, did anybody else have any questions before I go back to Councilor Erickson? Councilor Erickson.
I don't know where to go with this right now. I'm a little bit unsure, we'll say, for many reasons with the smoking room in there. And the reason why I was asking the questions earlier is, there's all these multiple licenses. And clearly in the Crown Casino on South Minnesota, there's 2 addresses. You can walk in the back door or you can walk in the front room, and it's one room. That's it. It's one, and they have 2 addresses. So the one would be separate or whatever, and you can get in there. And then there's the smoke room, which is about the size of about a walk-in closet that does have smoking, but there's not an outside access to it.
There is a door.
That you can.
If you're in the parking lot, the back parking lot of the casino, there's the door, which would be on the south to go into the main building. There's a door on the left that goes directly into the tobacco shop.
Is that how you access the tobacco shop, and is it listed as a separate business as a tobacco shop?
It is, yes, with a separate address.
It's just not sitting well with me. It's really skirting the issue, in my opinion. I'm just not sure about the intent and how that falls in line with, yeah, there's not the consumption of beverages on the premises, but define the premises, because it's one building that you can access from the casino. And even though there's a way out of this very small building, it's just, I'm just uneasy about this.
Councilor Erickson, which two, are there certain numbers you're concerned about? Because we're talking about 21 through 25, so are there certain ones?
22 and 23
All right, so
is where the smoke shack is.
22 and 23, would you want to make a motion on 22 and 23, and then we'll vote on that one, those two, and then we'll talk about 21, 24, 25? Just to, we've got to do something.
Yeah. No, I understand. I'm just making sure there's been some side conversation and making sure that those are the two that are in question, and that Deuces, there's not a question with the Deuces as well. I have not been to that one. I don't know about that one. So I'll go ahead and move to approve items 21,
24 and 25?
24, 25.
Thank you. There's been a motion to...
Second that.
Thank you. There's been a motion to approve items 21, 24, and 25. A roll call vote, please.
Sorry, who seconded that?
Councilor Karski.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Yes, Councilor Karski.
I'm going to make a motion on 22 and 23 that we defer for a week until September 8th on these.
Can I get is there a second?
Second, Erpenbach.
It's been a second. Councilor Karski?
Along with Councilor Erickson, I feel too that we're maybe being used a little bit to circumvent the state law when it comes to smoking inside. And if these businesses want to test the state law, I don't think that we should be the pawn in doing so, that they should take it straight up with the state, because apparently they are having using the liquor license to be able to add machines so they can add a smoking room. For that reason, I would like to have a conversation at the state level to find out, is this kosher?
There's been a motion to defer these two items, 22 and 23, to another week, September 8th. It has been seconded. Councilor Erpenbach.
Just conversation.
Please.
I worry that this isn't the first one. This is just the first one we've discovered. I worry that we're now beating up on this one individual where maybe we need to look at it from a broader standpoint than just going after this one casino. And so I would vote against deferral at this point. I would let them go ahead and have this, and then let's have that broader conversation.
Councilor Kelly.
And I have the same concern too, and thus my line of questioning. And I do feel that we do need to at least delay this.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
And Councilor Erickson, in between our earlier conversation about this, I mentioned another location. I also agree that this is a larger issue that we need to look at, and I think we should just move on with this and then bring this whole issue up and see what we can do at a state level and then city.
There's been a motion to defer items 22 and 23. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
No.
Erickson?
No.
Erpenbach?
No.
Jamison?
No.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has failed 2-5. Is there another motion? Yes, Councilor Erickson.
I'll move to approve.
There's been a motion to approve items 22 and 23.
Second,
There's been a second. Any discussion? Councilor Erickson?
Yes, I've had a lot of conversations about this item today, and I would be happy to continue the conversation with the help of Councilor Karski, working with the state's attorney, Mr. McGowan, as well as the state. I did have many conversations with the state about this, and this is kind of the first that they've heard about some of this, and certainly does draw some concern. I don't want to pick on any one business, but I do want it to be a level playing field for all businesses that do run in this same arena. And upon talking with the secretary of, or excuse me, the attorney with Department of Revenue, he had suggested we get together with McGowan and work it out from there. And so I guess that's where we go.
Councilor Buck.
I just would encourage you to do that. I know that there's been all kinds of conversations flying around, but I think that we need to understand that this is one business, and I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg that already exists. And it would be unfair to this business to say, yeah, we know all your friends got away with it, but we caught you, so nah. So I just really think we need to allow this to go, and then we really need to be more diligent about how we go through this process.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
No.
That is passed 6-1. Item 26.
Item 26 is new 2015 retail wine license, including video lottery terminals for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings, Deuces Casino 10, Building 1 on a portion of the Southwest 1/4 Tract 1 Polson's Edition and the Southwest 1/4 Tract 3A Siebert's Edition. General location northeast corner of 85th Street and Louise Avenue, with conditional use permit 3096-2015 being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspection per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 27 is a new 2015-16 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings, Deuces Casino 10, Building 1 on a portion of the Southwest 1/4 Tract 1 Polson's Edition and the Southwest 1/4 Tract 3A Siebert's Edition, general location northeast corner of 85th Street and Louise Avenue, with conditional use permit 3096-2015 being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 28 is a new 2015 retail wine license, including video lottery terminals for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings, Deuces Casino 10.5, Building 2 on a portion of the Southwest 1/4 Tract 1 Polson's Edition and the Southwest 1/4 Tract 3A Siebert's Edition, general location northeast corner of 85th Street and Louise Avenue, with conditional use permit 3096-2015 being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 29 is a 2015-16 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for Commonwealth Gaming and Holdings, Deuces Casino 10.5, Building 2, on a portion of the Southwest 1/4 Tract 1 Polson's Edition and the Southwest 1/4 Tract 3A Siebert's Edition, general location northeast corner of 85th Street and Louise Avenue, with conditional use permit 3096-2015 being approved on August 5th, 2015, pending permits and final inspections per Fire, Health, and Building Services.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. These items were dependent on how you voted on item 20.
Thank you. Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Erpenbach.
A motion to approve these 4 items has been seconded. Discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
No.
Erickson?
No.
Erpenbach?
No.
Jamison?
No.
Karski?
No.
Kylie?
No.
That has failed 0-7. Item 30.
Item 30 is a special one-day liquor license for River Greenway Hospitality LLC, Hilton Garden Inn downtown, to be operated at the CNA Building, 101 South Reed Street, for Avery's Aces Beanbag and Beer Benefit on September 12, 2015. Item 31 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Home Builders Association of the Sioux Empire to be operated at 6904 South Lindquist Place for an HBA membership meeting on September 17, 2015. Item 32 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated Chef Dominique's Catering to be operated at Bank Midwest, 225 South Minnesota Avenue for ribbon cutting on September 1st, 2015. Item 33 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated Chef Dominique's Catering to be operated at 2201 East St. Charles Circle for a private social on September 15th, 2015. Item 34 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated Chef Dominique's Catering to be operated at Bank Midwest, 225 South Minnesota Avenue for a private social on September 17th, 2015. Item 35 is a special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated Chef Dominique's Catering to be operated at Orthopedic Institute, 810 East 23rd Street, for a private social on October 3rd, 2015. Item 36 is a special one-day liquor license for Broadwater Bar to be operated at 8th and Railroad Shopping Center Back Dock, 401 East 8th Street, for a wedding on October 23rd, 2015.
Good evening. All of these items, as you can see, are special one-day requests. However, item 32, I need to make a request to withdraw this item as it was on the agenda by my error, so I apologize for that. The other items, I'm willing to answer any other questions.
Councilor?
So item 32, we've approved previously because the event happened this evening, right, this afternoon? Or has it been approved, or?
No, it was not. It should not have been on this agenda. It was received late and mistakenly placed on these two agendas, so it was not approved at all.
They did not have the event then, or they didn't serve alcohol at the event?
I can't confirm that for sure.
I'm just really so uncomfortable with how we let folks just push the limits on these deadlines, you know.
I know. A lot of them are received late, and they scramble and call several people on their list to figure out some way, somehow, that they can get alcohol, and it creates a lot of work for me and the clerks and you guys.
And and honestly, I mean, how many do we approve for this particular business? Almost every week we're approving stuff for these folks. They know that this is the law. I didn't make this up. We don't sit up here approving liquor licenses for the fun of it. It's the law.
Correct. Yep. And there is I'd have to look it up for sure, but I believe there is some way that you can set the limit on the number of special one days that are issued to a specific applicant.
Well, that doesn't matter to me. It's just the deadlines. There's a rule. You need it by a certain time. You know, that's my concern with it. Mr. Mayor, if I could, I would pull item 32 out of that batch, and we would vote on it separately.
Thank you.
So I would move to approve 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, and 36.
Second that.
So a motion to approve those particular items. Seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Council members Anderson?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Jamie, are we done? Thank you.
Just
Item 37.
32 has to be withdrawn.
Does item 32 need to be voted to be removed from the agenda, though?
Is that
we have to take
appropriate,
some action.
Jamie?
I would make that motion that
Okay.
we remove item 32 from our
Second,
agenda.
Karski.
There's been a motion to remove item 32 from the agenda. It has been seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Item 37.
Item 37 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property south of West 85th Street and east of South Meredith Avenue from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District, petition number 3010-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Diane DeCoyer with Planning. We have an additional map that we're going to start showing on our rezoning items just for a wider reference as to the location of these. The applicant for this is Lamar Van Hoeven. The location is south of West 85th Street and east of South Meredith Avenue. It is 2.9 acres, and the purpose is to construct 6 twin homes. The proposed zoning meets the Shape Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan. The proposed RD1 zoning provides a good transition from the existing O office to the north to the proposed twin homes and finally to the existing single-family residential uses to the south and to the east. If the rezoning of this property is approved, the applicant can construct twin homes or single-family residential uses on the property. If the rezoning is denied, the parcel can be used for single-family uses. However, the parcel may continue to be vacant since it could be difficult to market these lots for single-family uses, considering a 10-acre future office development proposed to the north. And I can answer any questions you have.
Diane, thank you. Folks, this is second reading, so you have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic. Anybody interested? Very good. Councilors?
Motion to approve.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve this item, second by Councilor Erpenbach. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Diane,
Yes.
who's responsible for building the roadway through there? Will that be,
The only note I have here from engineering is that Oak Hill Drive is required to be an 80-foot right-of-way. So I believe that would be the owner, or excuse me, the developer in this case, that pays for it. I think the construction of it is probably the city's responsibility. I'm sorry, I don't have a definitive answer for you.
I could maybe help if,
Councilor Jameson?
if your concern is liability or the developer is responsible for building it. Who builds it is probably left out to a contract. It won't be the city. Just generally, it wouldn't be the city.
and I guess I'm just wondering if they have to complete the entire street or if they only have to build out to where they're building their twin homes? And then do they connect with the roadway that is going south off of 85th? If you go back one picture, I think you show
I think it's frozen.
Diane, the question, will the road continue all the way through or not? And if you can't answer the question, that's okay too.
I cannot answer that question.
Very good, Councilor. Good discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 38.
Item 38 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property south of West 85th Street and east of South Tallgrass Avenue from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RD2 Town Home Residential Suburban District, petition number 3029, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The project before you is for the Townsley Place rezone. The applicant is Brady Hyde. The location is south of West 85th Street and east of South Tallgrass Avenue. It is 7.4 acres, and the purpose is to develop 4-plex units. The subject property is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed RD2 townhome residential will provide a good transition for the existing O office zoning to the north to the existing RS single-family residential suburban district to the south. If the rezoning of this property is approved, the applicant can construct 4-plexes on the west side of South Townsley Avenue, adjacent to the vacant single-family residential land to the south. If the rezoning is denied and the parcel will continue to be zoned RD1 twin home duplex residential with the ability to construct twin homes on the 7.4 acres. There we have it. I can answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Diane. Folks, anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second.
Been a motion to approve this item has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Passed 7-0. Item 39.
Item 39 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 3520 South Gateway Lane from the C3 Commercial Community District to the O Office District, petition number 3104, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Diane?
The applicant for this is Jean Pesca. The location is 3520 South Gateway Lane. This is located just west of I-29 and south of Gateway Boulevard. The parcel is 4.48 acres, and the purpose is to remodel the interior of the building for the Volunteer of America main office and training facility. Proposed zoning meets the Shape Sioux Falls comprehensive plan. An office use should fit in well with the existing developed neighborhood. If the rezoning of this property is approved, the applicant can rehab the building for the VOA office and training rooms. If the rezoning is denied, the parcel can be used for large retail building up to 75,000 square feet. And I can answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Diane. Did anybody want to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve this item. Has been seconded. Councilor Jameson.
Diane, could you, I thought I heard you right that the applicant wanted to remodel and change the use, or was it zoned for something different?
It was zoned for C3 commercial, which would allow them to construct something up to 75,000 square feet. But because the building exists and they want to reuse the building for office, they are rezoning to office in this case.
Okay, thanks.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 40.
Item 40 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property south of West 82nd Street and west of future South Beale Avenue from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District, petition number 3105, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant for this item is Palace Construction. The location south of West 82nd Street and west of the future South Beale Avenue. The area is 11.1 acres, and the purpose is to construct apartment townhome type buildings ranging in size from 6 to 16 units per building. The proposed zoning meets the Shape Sioux Falls comprehensive plan. The applicant is proposing to realign the future South Beale Avenue. The property to the west of the major collector street is proposed to be rezoned for apartment townhome type units, with the property east of Beale staying as single family. The proposed major collector street, South Beale Avenue, should provide a good transition from the existing and future single family residential uses to the east to the proposed apartment townhome west of South Beale Avenue. Further, the majority of the increased traffic from the proposed apartment townhome unit should be filtered down to South Beale Avenue to the future signalized intersection of Beale and 85th Street. If the application is approved, the RA1 zoning district allows a maximum of 2 stories and 24 units per building, and the applicant could construct his proposed 2-story, 6, 8, 12, and 16 unit buildings. If the application is denied, the applicant can construct single-family homes on the 11.5 acres. However, the lots will front a major collector street, and some of the lots will front a future arterial street of West 85th Street. We did get some response from Andy Berg on this with drainage. The site is within a regional BMP watershed that is maxed out for detention purposes. Detention on this site would be required unless if planned for in a downstream pond. So they'd have to either provide something on site or something in the future with an additional pond for that. And I can answer any questions you have.
Diane, thank you. Is everybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Councilors? Councilor? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Diane, last time we had a question, or I had a question about 85th Street improvements getting done because the neighbors who'd contacted me were concerned about all of the construction traffic, all of the homes, the apartments after they're built would go north versus out to 85th because the road would be gravel. Did we ever get an answer on how 85th Street would be improved from whatever that road is there to the east?
I apologize. I did not get an answer from engineering on that.
It's only a concern if they don't do it now. It does push everybody to the north. Once they do it, everybody will probably go out south, I would think. But maybe...
And they'll have to review that with some of the engineering development plans as well as the traffic impact on that, if that proceeds with that.
Thank you.
You bet. Councilor Erickson.
Can you go back a slide, please? I just want to see a couple more, just where it shows the development. Is there maybe another one? Is the only way in West 82nd, or is it, because it goes down, but it goes to a gravel road?
And the road isn't there yet.
And the road isn't there. It's the road to nowhere, right? Is the gravel road even there yet?
Yes, 85th is.
Yeah, 85th is gravel right up to, I think it's Tuscan Club Circle.
Okay, so the only way would be Beale and 82nd, is that correct?
Correct.
So we'd only have, I mean, this kind of goes to our conversations we've had in public services about only one access point to get out of these developments. Again, so we're kind of, you know, once you get in there and have, what is it, 20, 30 homes, you have to have the second access point, right?
Correct.
I guess I just would encourage, I mean, that's certainly something that's been on this council's radar over the last 5 or 6 months, that I just would encourage them to make sure that second access point is included in there. I know it has to be for the fire, but to the gravel road?
I think as you can see from this, this site plan, it indicates the road going up from Beale all the way down to 85th through here. So you would have 2 accesses.
Right, and that's the plan. Is that road going to be done right away? Probably not. They're probably going to start partitioning off the lots and sell the lots that are more accessible, like that happened in another development.
That could be, and there's usually a number of about 30 lots. Once those are developed, they're required to have that second access required by fire. That is the plan.
Diane, you were talking about in this development that there should be some type of water retention. Was that correct?
That is correct. What they have right now for the regional is maxed out, so they would either have to provide something within this development or something down the road in the future to plan for any runoff from this area.
Well, we're looking at a site plan right now, correct?
Correct.
Basically, no. But I guess I'm looking to see where a water retention area would go here in this area.
Again, when we do a rezone, we look at this for land use. We get some input from traffic and on drainage from the engineers, but they don't have a full set of development plans to comment on. So they give us some preliminary information to caution the applicant on. So they probably will have to go back. These are not final drawings from the applicant. They'll have to go back and provide that information.
And see, that's where I have the problem. You're asking us, or not just yourself, but we're being asked to approve what we're seeing here, and this isn't the final draft. It's just a start of something, and we're asked to approve this without seeing. I've got a problem with this one here. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Buck.
I would just counter that all we're doing is approving zoning. We're not approving a plan or construction sites or anything like that. We're just approving zoning. And Diane did say, and this would be the high point for me, is that to keep it single family the way that it's zoned now would put houses facing on 85th Street, which I don't think would be, I wouldn't want it. You know, it's going to be tough to sell single family homes facing 85th Street in the future. So I would support this zoning change.
Council, we'll keep the discussion going, but would anybody want to make a motion to approve this item?
Move to approve. Urbanbach.
Second, Erickson.
Thank you. Councilor Urbanbach's made a motion to approve. Councilor Erickson seconded it. Thank you. Any other discussion on this item? Yes, Councilor Jameson.
The zoning change is really actually good. The people who live further to the east are going to be buffered again by vacant single-family homes that aren't there yet. And so it's really good for them before they move into these apartment complexes. And you're hitting on the idea of access and other issues, but the zoning is right. Makes sense.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
So Diane, what would be the next step if we approve this zoning? Do they have to come back to the council with any other plans as far as once they start developing this, or we're done here?
No, then they continue to work through engineering on things like traffic and drainage and all those other items. And that's typical for any kind of a rezone. We get preliminary information just to be aware if there may be any issues to caution the applicant, but we are not approving drainage or traffic or any of those things at a rezone.
Will we ever get to, or will your department ever do that, or is it just recommendations?
Those are recommendations at that time. They just don't have enough information. It's too early on in the process. The applicant doesn't provide us that kind of detailed information at the time of an application.
Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That's passed 7-0. Item 41.
Item 41 is a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 3801 West Technology Drive from the I-1 Light Industrial District to the RA3 Apartment Residential High Density District. Petition number 3106, 2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Diane?
The applicant for this rezone is Erica Beck with Lloyd Companies. Location is 3801 West Technology Circle. This is west of the Louise Transfer Station. It's approximately 1.4 acres, and the purpose is to construct a 39-unit apartment building. The proposed zoning meets the Shape Sioux Falls comprehensive plan. The proposed multifamily residential use will be located adjacent to the Sioux Falls area metro station, which should provide the residents easy access to public transportation. The parcel is a quarter mile away from the 49th and Louise employment node and 57th and Louise employment node, while still within walking distance of the Empire Mall. If the rezoning is approved, the applicant can construct apartment buildings of unlimited size. If the rezoning is denied, the parcel can be developed for office, retail, or light industrial uses. I can answer any questions you might have.
Diane, thank you. Folks, this is second reading. You do have the opportunity to engage the council on this. Would anybody like to do that? Welcome.
Hi, Heath Koyman, Sioux Falls. Yes, you have a challenge in a growing city and changing characteristics. And I'm a huge advocate for development. My family's been involved in development for decades, and we all know you can't fight City Hall, and I've seen that in many development projects. But have any of you visited this site personally?
Mm-hmm.
Good, that's great. Did you see any other 4-story apartment buildings?
Heath, it's not an opportunity to ask questions of the council, so just give your testimony, sir. You're doing a great job.
My observation is that I don't see any other 4-story apartment buildings, and this proposed 4-story apartment building on a cul-de-sac with single access and 39 units. The city buses already create enough congestion around that area of 53rd, Technology Drive, and Technopolis. There's also a bathroom issue, if you didn't know, with the bus station. There isn't one at the bus station. And the neighbor directly adjacent to the north has issues with people walking up to his building asking to use a public bathroom that doesn't exist. So we're concerned. We have Burger King, a single-story office building directly to the south, an architect building directly to the north, single-story, a CPA office to the west that are all single-story. We're not sure that we have the infrastructure to handle this. All the congestion, the cul-de-sac, one way in, one way out, again, 39 units with single access. No traffic light at 53rd and Louise, and that's an icy hazard in the spring and the fall. There's a significant change in elevation as you get off of 53rd onto Louise Avenue. It's just not a good fit for the neighborhood. and it's 4 stories tall. High density, single access, 39 units. Our covenants and restrictions that, when we bought the building in 1992, allowed for permissive uses. I can read them all, A through P, none of which say anything about residence. Single family, multifamily, none of them are in here. They're all matter of public record, they're all recorded. When it comes to spot zoning, I didn't see anything on the city council's or City of Sioux Falls website that talked about it, so I went to Black's Law Dictionary, which defines spot zoning as a variation in zoning where a piece of land is zoned differently than that surrounding it. So let's talk about its purpose or its neighbors. It doesn't fit the purpose, it doesn't fit with its neighbors. Shape Places had this right. They changed it to light industrial. What's being proposed is to go to high-density residential, or what is referred to as RA3. Let's not change what it is. It's right the way it is. There are other uses for this property, very good uses for this property. In fact, less than a year ago, we tried to buy it, but it wasn't for sale. So I don't think it's been given the proper time to market either. That is all.
Heath, very good. Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Tim McVeigh. I'm a resident of Sioux Falls here. I've never addressed the council before, so I apologize for me being nervous. I don't really have a dog in the fight here on this, except that I drive this street most every day of the week. My wife works at 3800 West Technology Circle in that office building just to the north of this. On the north side there, you'll see where the parking lot wraps around to the east and the north. CPA firm, there's an architect firm and the like in there. That gentleman stated most of the things that I would bring to your attention. Again, single access. There's too many places in Sioux Falls that we have single access with way too many people. I see them every day as I travel from the southeast part of town to there to drop her off to work. That I see cars sitting and sitting and sitting and then blasting onto 57th Street, hope they don't get clipped. This is a little different situation. This is a very narrow street. I don't know what's right or what's wrong on streets, but again, if you're going to have multifamily like that, you're going to have kids, you're going to have school buses. Right now, the city buses travel on Technology Circle or Technology Drive there quite a bit. There is very little traffic on Technology Circle because it doesn't go anywhere. It is, of course, right by the bus station. That is a positive, but on the 39-unit multifamily thing or building with the rezoning, the way I read your stuff on your website, on the city website, is the parking situation, you allow, I think it's 1.5 cars per apartment. And then if it's a 3-bedroom apartment, it goes to 2. Well, I'm never good at math, but 39 apartments, let's go 2, and really let's be safe, let's go 2.5. That's 100 spots you'd need. Now, I've not heard whether this building is supposed to have underground parking or not. That would certainly change that thing. I can tell you that large building, as that gentleman said, would be an eyesore in this area. It would be an eyesore to the city based on that bus transfer station. That's supposed to be a model, I believe, for other towns. Snow removal on that street, as a lot of you may know if you travel any kind of cul-de-sacs, the city's not very good at snow removal on cul-de-sacs. Snow removal on a lot like that with only one way in and out, where would you put the snow on a possibly 100 parking space lot? School bus, as I said, I apologize to the owner of that lot that it's a cruddy lot. It's been surrounded by other buildings, penned in by other buildings. He's going to have trouble selling it and fitting into the area. But unfortunately, that's not the council's concern. The concern is how it should be built out or not. Thank you for your time.
Very good job, sir. Welcome.
Got to raise these up a little bit. Good evening. Tom Walsh Jr., Burger King, Dakota King. My father and I own the lot just to the south. We're what the two gentlemen said in front of us was right on. We have a lot of problems with the traffic. We have a lot of problems with people walking from the bus stops, walking into our office where I have all female staff. And a lot of times I'm not in the office. Having this development there is not the place. You look at the traffic, as I said, I don't want to hit on everything that everyone else said, but it's a huge issue to our business. My team, I have a lot of mothers that have kids that work late at night, come in late at night, work overnight. I'm worried about the safety of having all these units and more traffic in that area that doesn't fit into our development. So I would ask you to reject this, and let's find something better that we can do. And I'm sure many of the neighbors would be willing to step up and make something happen there that would be good for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome.
Mayor, Council, Bruce Eide with Vern Motor Cars. We purchased 4 buildings that were on Technology Place toward the north end of that map. And a few years ago that had been distressed properties. They were kind of shells of buildings, and we've slowly been selling them off and renovating them and putting our own businesses into those buildings. I heard about this for the very first time this morning when a gentleman called me with concern. And I got in my car and I drove in from our new store out in Sturgis to make this meeting and let you know that we oppose this. And Sioux Falls is too beautiful and valuable a city to do the wrong thing. I've recently been firsthand witness to 4-story apartment buildings being built out at Willow Run Golf Course right in my backyard. And I can tell you, it doesn't do anybody any good. It was a poor choice then outside of the city limits. It'll be a poor choice now in the heart of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Welcome.
Erica Beck, Lloyd Companies. I just want to start by talking about why we thought this site was very interesting as far as its relationship to multifamily housing. We had actually been looking at it as a possibility, and then we were approached by a nonprofit who is also very interested in it as well, because one of the challenges that many of our nonprofits have in the community when it comes to affordable housing and multifamily housing in general is proximity to public transit. So we were looking for a site that was not only close to public transit, but also was within walking distance or a reasonable distance to one of our largest employment centers within the community, which is the Empire Mall area, which this is. So we were really excited about this opportunity. We worked really hard, probably for over a year, to try to get the site under contract, and actually were able to do that in June of this year. So we've been working to try to identify a site plan and potential what we would utilize the site for. We've come up with a 4-story building, as what you've heard here tonight, with 39 units. It will have 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and potentially 3 bedrooms associated with it. It's my understanding from talking with city staff that we'll be required to have, I think it's 64 parking spaces associated with the building. Our hope, of course, is that the individuals that live here are encouraged to use the public transit system. We haven't had formal conversations with the city about having pedestrian access directly from the building to the public transit site, but we certainly want to do that if approved tonight, just because I think that that's a valuable resource for the residents that will live here in the future. In fact, when I had some conversations with Mary Michaels from the City Health Department, who also runs your Live Well initiative, she was really excited about this opportunity as well, because she said it fit really well within what the city is trying to do as far as the initiative with creating more walkability and more walkable communities overall, and the value that that provides not only to the city in general, but also to the surrounding neighborhoods. If you look at this overall neighborhood, I think prior to this, as one of the earlier testimonies shared, it was actually a planned development district. And was this specific parcel of property identified as being a multifamily residential property? No, it wasn't. But in the overall planned development district, there are specific properties that are used for multifamily residential. I think actually within 700 feet, 600, 700 feet, probably just west of this site, there are a number of multifamily units. So the reason that that was done from a planning perspective, at least in my opinion, is because it's a great opportunity to try to move forward and create a more neighborhood-like feel where you can not only walk to shops, walk to your potential employer, and then also, you know, just have an area that is more of a neighborhood-friendly resource to the residents that are living within the building. As far as traffic goes, I can't necessarily testify to the number of residents that will drive their cars on a regular basis. Do I think that that will happen? Of course. But I also, again, am hoping that we can encourage those residents that are living there to utilize the public transit system. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, that's all the testimony that I have to share tonight.
Erica, thank you. Appreciate that. Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council before I turn it over to them? Thank you. Councilors? Councilor Jameson?
If I could, Diane, the idea of it being unlimited and tie that, I wrote it down, but what is that referencing? Unlimited in size? Unlimited in density, or what was that?
No, in density in this, they can actually be up to, well, it can be unlimited in size for RA3, but they are 39 units, but they are going to 4 stories, which is why, even though it's a lower density because of the height of the building, it puts it into that RA3 form.
I see. I see it in our red notes, our notes here about a traffic count getting done. Did that just not get done?
No, I do have traffic counts on that. That was provided again by Heath Hotteaser with traffic engineering. For RA3, again, the high density apartment that this is proposed for rezone, this is based on a daily basis, 164. If it were to stay as a light industrial, traffic count would be 73. And if it was rezoned even to office, now office is also allowed within the I-1, but that would potentially be 67. So again, the apartment RA3, 164, light industrial 73, and office 67.
Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I was going to ask Erica, is there any affordable housing component part of this?
Potentially, yes. So if the nonprofit that we're working with is awarded financing from the state of South Dakota, it could be affordable housing. And in that instance, we would have rents up to $920 a month.
Thank you.
Councilor Bach.
Thank you. Hey, Erica, would you stay there a second? Because I know that you can't divulge all your secrets, but there have been opportunities in the downtown area where we have traded parking spaces for bus passes. Is that something that might be part of that plan as well? That some of these folks, instead of just encouraging them, we'd say, you know what, you don't get a parking spot with this unit, you get a bus pass with this unit. Is that part of your conversation?
Yes, absolutely. The nonprofit that we're working with is very interested in doing that.
Okay, that's very cool. Then if I could, I have a question for Diane.
Sure. Diane?
As you know, Diane, we have these cheat sheets up here, and I'm looking at I-1 right now, what I-1 can be right now. Can you tell us, because that whole area, everything that's pink on the map that's
Correct.
on there now is I-1,
right,
which is light industrial.
Yes.
Can you tell us what all of those, what all could go there at this point?
Let me grab my cheat sheet.
I don't know if I read the cheat sheets right, so I want you to help.
Mine's a little thicker than yours.
Yes.
The form in this case for light industrial is a WM1, and that's warehouse and manufacturing for light. So what is permitted is light manufacturing process and assembly, light warehouse and freight movement. Permitted special is a crematory so long as such use is placed 300 feet away from single-family detached dwellings and attached dwellings, and multiple family dwelling units.
And there are other allowable uses, right?
The other allowable uses in terms of the forms that you can use here, utilities, there's a BCF1 and BCF2 and BCF3, and those are business community facilities based on size increases, and then also an RE3 form, which is retail.
That could have housing on the second or above the first level, RE.
The RE3.
RE3 allows housing above the first level. So technically, we wouldn't have to change the zoning. The Lloyd companies would have to change their plan, but technically, we wouldn't have to change the zoning, and there could be multifamily housing there.
There could be
under this current zoning. Okay, that was just my clarification. Thank you.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. Dan, was there a neighborhood meeting? And was that not required?
I think the applicant can probably answer that.
Thank you.
Erica, was there a neighborhood meeting? Thank you.
Yes, there was. We had 4 attendees. I think several of them are in the audience and also testified tonight.
Okay, thank you. The one comment I guess I want to share is you know, it's been a tough night, I guess. Gosh, I just don't know what I struggle with this one is it doesn't really necessarily fit the neighborhood. But what I'm curious is the people that spoke against it, I'm wondering what would they be okay with there? If they were townhomes, would that be sufficient? Is it just the 3-level 39 units? What if it was 20 units? What if, I guess I didn't hear any other options coming back. I struggle with what else would be acceptable if it were an actual residential living area. I do like how close it is to the bus station. I think that offers a great benefit to people living there. And it probably isn't the most desirable lot, but is this the best fit? I'm just not sure about.
Councilor Karski.
Thank you. First of all, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been a motion to approve this item. It has been seconded. We'll continue the discussion. Councilor Karski.
When I first looked at this, and you look at the neighborhood west of Louise Avenue, that's pretty much an office complex. And I look at this and I wonder, why would we want to build an apartment unit in the middle of an office complex? All the apartments are on the east side of Louise, not just a block away. And then I heard the arguments, and there are good arguments from some of the people that live or work in that area. But if this was being rezoned to an office building that could be a 3-story office building, I don't think we'd have any less traffic in the neighborhood. In fact, we'd probably have more. It is convenient to the bus stop. The property owner has his rights for development. At first I was struggling thinking, yeah, maybe not, but now I'm gonna vote to approve and encourage you to do the same.
A roll call vote, please.
I think Councilor Kiley and even myself had further comments or questions. And I'll start if you want.
Councilor Janison.
So as I heard from one of the neighbors talk about covenants and conditions that they have, that means that the land did have conditions put on it when the owner has it and is trying to develop it. They put their own conditions on it in that neighborhood so that they could control it. That's a separate issue from us. If we approve this, they've got to fight that on their own legally. But for me, I think that lot has a huge, tremendous desirability with its exposure to Louise Avenue. Even though it's right past the bus station, its height and everything allows great exposure. And then you add on top of that what could be a 4-story building. It absolutely does not fit the landscape in the area. And the density is intense. You add in the other businesses that use this one cul-de-sac, you're way over what we would normally allow or want or recommend with that type of use. So I actually encourage you to deny this unless and someday they could come back with a single-story option. And then I think it might fit. But with a 4-story option, it just doesn't.
Councilor Kiley.
Thank you. I was just going to say that I do agree with much of what Councilor Karski had mentioned earlier. I mean, for instance, RE3 and BCF3 would allow 25, currently allows 25,000 square feet, parking lot, general retail, office, places of worship, which to me, especially a place of worship, for instance, I mean, there you're going to have concentrated times when traffic is coming and going because the service is scheduled, where apartment complex is going to be scattered throughout the day as people are coming in and leaving. So I guess I don't see that big a difference from what they're proposing to how it's currently zoned, and I would encourage passing.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Erickson?
No.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
No.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has passed 4-3. Item 42.
Item 42 is a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the northwest corner of West 22nd Street and South T. Ellis Road from the AG Agricultural District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential, Suburban RD2 Town Home Residential, Suburban and O Office Districts, petition number 3107-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Wait a minute.
Just Danny just mentioned something to me. Danny, I don't know that answer. You're going to have to answer that for us. So would you mind repeating what you just asked me?
Well, I think we need 5 affirmative votes to pass an ordinance. I think I heard you say that there was only 4 in the affirmative.
Yes.
So that doesn't pass. We need 5 to pass an ordinance.
Very, very good.
Somebody want to tell those people they already left?
Allow the.
I think he's right.
I would grab them.
I believe he's right.
Very good.
30.022.
Because they left thinking it passed, and I think that we need to
Yeah,
probably.
it's fine. Danny, continue, please.
That's right.
Thank you.
Pass an ordinance with 5 affirmative votes from
Thank
council.
you. My apologies, Danny. Thank you so much. That has failed 4-3 because we did not have 5 affirmative votes. Item number 42.
Okay. Item 42 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at the northwest corner of West 22nd Street and South T. Ellis Road from the AG Agricultural District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban RD2 Town Home Residential Suburban and O Office Districts, petition number 3107-2015, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant for this project is Kelly Nielsen. The location is northwest corner of West 22nd Street and South T. Ellis Road. It is approximately 17.8 acres, and the purpose is to develop single, twin home, and townhome residential units with 1 lot in the southeast corner reserved for a potential daycare. The subject property is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed O office and twin home duplex residential and RD2 townhome residential should provide a good transition from the TLS Road to the proposed and existing single-family residential uses to the north and to the west. If the rezoning of this property is approved, the applicant can construct an office or daycare in the southeast corner of the property, then transition with twin homes and townhomes. Finally, the applicant would be allowed to construct single-family residential on the remaining 14.3 acres. If the rezoning is denied, the parcel will continue to be zoned agriculture and could be used for a detached farm dwelling or agriculture use, which includes production, storage, keeping, harvesting, grading, packaging, processing, boarding of crops, livestock, poultry, and fruit. I can answer any questions you might have on this.
Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Got a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach? Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 43.
Item 43 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the 2013 Shaped Places zoning ordinance of the Code of Ordinances of the city for off-premise billboard sign opportunities. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Good evening, Council. My name is Shauna Goldhammer. I am your zoning enforcement manager, and I'm here this evening to present an ordinance that a group of folks worked really hard on. We did have a study group of 5 committee members who went through a series of meetings and took in public input. And what you have here is the final version of that amendment to the zoning ordinance regarding off-premise signs. You all know them as billboards. Primarily, the big meat of this ordinance is found in Section 3, where we are creating 10 new opportunity districts for billboard signs within our community. Letter B also indicates additional standards that need to be applied to these zoning districts, these new opportunity overlay districts, including some future language regarding sensitivity and separations to those sensitive uses, including a cemetery separation from any historic district and also a 500-foot separation from any future opportunity districts. With that, I can answer any questions that you may have, but this is the final and second reading. So,
Shauna, thank you very much. Folks, anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Welcome.
Greg Knights, Sioux Falls. As you know, I was concerned about this before Shaped Places took effect, and I was a member of the Billboard Study Group. I want to say that Councilor Kiley did a great job as chairman. I think I would summarize what we faced as follows: goals and ideals constrained by legal and practical realities. Citizens were really clear. They did not want billboards next to or near their homes. That was the most important issue that we addressed. So we had to balance citizen concerns with property rights of those who make a living with billboards. The main problem is right now there's no required separation distance between billboards and sensitive uses, and that includes single-family homes. We had a lot of ideas and input, but again, we were constrained by certain things, specifically state law and existing signage. State law says we cannot ban digital billboards. We have to treat electronic signs the same as we treat static signs. And that means we have to assume anywhere that a billboard can go, potentially it could be an electronic billboard. So we had to think about things like large illuminated billboards at night. We also had to deal with what was already there. In other words, we had to recognize and deal with all of the signs that are already in place. We had to find a balance to recognize and deal with signs that already exist while at the same time figuring out how to protect developing areas and those commercial pockets going forward. We did consider setting up a flat separation distance from sensitive uses for all signs, including the existing signs. Separation distance of 250 feet would have created, I think, 42% would have become non-conforming, and with 500 feet it would have been about 98%, if I believe. There was a concern that making that many existing signs non-conforming would be a legal problem. That would be essentially a de facto ban. And if you remember, we can't ban billboards in South Dakota. We can only impose reasonable regulations. So the existing signage and constraints of state law are the reasons why we came up with the opportunity districts. By allowing signs in certain corridors, we recognize what is already there, but we also protect developing areas going forward. We didn't put every sign into an opportunity district, but we put most of them, specifically those in the corridors where you already see and expect signs and where they've existed for many years. The few signs in the pockets where they have recently appeared would become non-conforming. They're allowed to stay until they reach the end of their life, but they couldn't be replaced. I would have liked to have a separation distance throughout the city, but as stated, we had constraints. With the opportunity district model, we more or less returned to the 1983 ordinance where we didn't have a whole lot of complaints. We made sure there was significant and meaningful public notice if an opportunity district is to be added or expanded. It will require the same notice as a rezone. There'll be signs and there'll be letters, and people will have an opportunity for public input. And new opportunity districts can't be within 500 feet of sensitive uses, cemeteries, and historical districts. By the way, I personally wouldn't mind an even bigger separation distance than that, but right now we have 0, so whether you choose 500, 600, 1,000, it's better than we have now. We had significant and excellent public input, and a lot of that input made it into the ordinance. We also had billboard companies that were also representative. Their input was very helpful. They had a perspective, obviously, of somebody who works in the industry that made us think about things that maybe we wouldn't have thought about, and some of their input made it into the ordinance. There was a couple things that they really, really didn't like removing the variance option. That is now gone. And they also did not like the flat separation distance. That's gone. I think they may have a few other concerns yet, and they may speak to those. We also did add a prohibition of billboards in a buffer yard that will apply anywhere. So the yard that is supposed to protect an adjacent use is going to be protected going forward. With the changes we are proposing, I believe we have addressed the main concerns citizens had, which were billboards appearing too close to sensitive uses and appearing in small commercial pockets in isolated areas where you would have never expected them. I'm proud of what we did, and I urge you to support this. Thanks.
Greg, thank you very much, and thank you for your stewardship as well. Welcome.
Mayor, Council, good evening. My name is Terry Olson. I'm the real estate manager for Lamar Advertising here in Sioux Falls. First of all, I just want to start and say we've been in favor of the moratorium. We've been in favor of a new sign code. We've been in favor ever since Shake Place has rolled out. I trust you got my email that we've been shouting it from the rooftops from the Shake Places there was going to be a debacle in the city of Sioux Falls, and true to our prediction, that's exactly what happened. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm here to offer some suggestions. That's what I do. I deal with the federal, the state, county, and city codes. Some of the codes that I've been involved in, or some of the sign codes that I've been involved in, have gone over a year. First time ever been in a sign code group where our industry was not represented. Yes, we had our input, but I believe by a sign representative being in the committee, we could have steered the committee properly in a better way and probably made a better sign code. We have 3 concerns. Our first concern is that the sign code does not go far enough. Yes, you heard it right. The sign code doesn't go far enough. We would like it more restrictive. We suggest that you get rid of the sign code, send it back to committee, and let's put a responsible sign code in there. Right now we have 2 different sign codes. They're confusing. Even I've been in the billboard business for over 25 years, and they're confusing. And I'm Norwegian to top it off, so it's really confusing. The second thing I want to add is that we like 1,000-foot spacing. Do away with the opportunity districts, make a straight 1,000-foot spacing. Or another idea is have a cap and replace. A cap and replace means the number of billboards in the city of Sioux Falls would remain constant. There wouldn't be any more new billboards being added. If someone wanted to build a new billboard, they would have to remove one. Some people say, well, Lamar is a major player in Sioux Falls, which we are. But all of our billboards we acquired through acquisition. We bought them. And I know there's a number of billboards that are for sale today. The prior gentleman mentioned about state law. He was half right and half wrong. There is a state law that says you can't ban billboards. However, you can't ban billboards on any state or federally funded highways. You can ban them on any non-federally funded highway. And that's what we do. We offer responsible sign code suggestions. Probably the third thing is what I'm probably most concerned about. Under the current ordinance and the new ordinance coming forward, you can currently build a wood pole structure in the city of Sioux Falls. We have built 2 new locations on Louise Avenue. We could have went down to the Farmers Co-op and bought some old REA poles and stuck them in the ground, and that would have been the sign that is permitted in the city of Sioux Falls. We think that's a travesty. We think any new sign that's built in the city of Sioux Falls should be a monopole steel construction. We have over 1,200 billboard sites in the state, and as you know, the wind blows in South Dakota, and we get a lot of wind damage. We have, in the 25 years I've been with Lamar, we have never lost a monopole. A monopole has never caused any damage, but just this summer we've lost 10 wood structures. And when they blow over, they blow on the road, and they blow, you know, you can imagine the damage it does. I really strongly suggest that you strike the wood pole part in the ordinance, and let's build them all on monopoles. My suggestion is to reject the proposal. Let's put a sign industry representative on the sign code, and let's bring forth a responsible sign code that will benefit us now into the future. I have a feeling that if this passes, we'll be standing before you another year, because there's going to be an outrage of non-support, I guess, for the billboard code the way it is. And I believe by working together, we can avoid this process in the future. Thank you for your time. I'm available for questions.
Terry, thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it. Folks, anybody else? Okay.
My name is Jeff Gould. I live on 85th Street. You see the map in front of you. It does not really represent 85th Street. This is an idea. How are we going to make billboards work going forward into the future, looking at what happened back then and how we maybe can make changes for the better. And there's a lot of committee work, a lot of good committee work that went into this. And we're trying to decide what's the right and what's the fair thing to do. And the trouble is, a billboard, I mean, that's kind of a moving target, isn't it? I would say when billboards were out 50 years ago, they were nothing more than extremely large posters. 50 years ago, maybe it made sense to have this large poster maybe 150 feet from a house because it wasn't lit. 50 years ago, it might make sense to, when you were building your house, to put 60 amps of electrical service in because everyone only had a light bill and there's only so much electricity. 60 years ago, you might use asbestos building that house because it wouldn't burn. That made perfect sense in the codes of the city 60 years ago. As we've moved on, however, we have seen some changes. First off, we use more electricity. There's no way you would allow a new house to be built with 60 amps. You might grandfather an old one in and let that homeowner update it. There's no way you would build a house with asbestos. This just simply wouldn't make sense. We know how dangerous that is. Now we're looking at signs that are not just large posters. You know, 20, 30 years ago, you could put a light on them. Now they are basically large television sets. Now, one of the things that I learned is that once you put a billboard in, it's there. Now it becomes a property issue. It can never be taken down. Those ones that we see there that are close to property, 125 feet, 150 feet away, you are never going to get rid of those billboards unless the billboard company says that's okay. What does 125 feet look like? This is 125 feet. Maybe that was okay when it was just a large poster. I don't think you want that television moving sign 125 feet. Certainly the neighbors don't. This is 250 feet. And this is 500 feet. Now you remember, we have no control over what kind of sign that can be. This, once it's in, it can be electric. It can be any, it can be, we have no control on that. You, as a council members, have to not just represent You have to represent the worst case scenario. And as I heard the gentleman from Lamar say 1,000 feet, I say hallelujah. I understand that they settled on 500 feet because there are competitors in town. My question to you is that if you pass or reject this, it should be for the idea of making it protect the citizens who own homes in sensitive areas, looking to what the reality will be for billboards. And the reality will be, as energy becomes and electronics become cheaper and cheaper, I think it is safe to assume that as traffic increases, all those billboards will be lit with moving images. And we really need to find a way to isolate sensitive neighborhoods from that. This one here, this house that you see right there, if you were to look at the top of that house, that's 40 feet off the ground. If you were to look at the width of that house, that would be roughly the width of the poster of a billboard. And when you have that height and that width, how can you not see that? I mean, that's the job of a billboard, to be seen. So the job of this billboard is to be seen as far away as it possibly can, and if it's electronic with moving pictures, you're going to have a problem in the future that we can rectify here today. And we better do it, because once it's in, we won't be able to wind the clock back. It'll be it'll be law, it'll be there, it'll be property rights, and then we won't have an option. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Thanks for having me. I'm Marty Jacobson with Lamar, and I appreciate the gentleman, and really, you know, I sat in a lot of the meetings and everything, and I just want to express kind of what my feelings were going through all that. Committee did a great job, okay? They looked at everything, they took into consideration, but there are some considerations that I think we really have to, like the gentleman said, once it goes into law, it's law, and we can't change that. So we want to make sure it's absolutely right for the community of Sioux Falls and the whole process. So, I mean, obviously sensitive areas, we're in favor of the moratorium for that reason, and we're in favor of the community, and we don't want billboards shining in their faces, okay? But when residential areas go up, commercial's gonna develop and they're gonna come in. And guess what? There's gonna be lights in the parking lot, there's gonna be illuminated signs, signs moving. Ours don't illuminate, move. They're static signs, and they absolutely ain't any brighter than any of the signs that are on premise for on-premise signs that are running commercial business, okay? So I second that my associate was up here, and we asked that, you know, the people of the council that we respect very much take a consideration of everything. We did write some letters. We absolutely support the committee, but we absolutely need to get it right, and that's, I think, for the whole community. So thank you very much.
Marty, thank you. We appreciate your comments. Council? Councilor Staggers?
Yes, if I could ask a question of Mr. Olson.
Mr. Olson?
Yes, you mentioned in your testimony there you want us to vote against this.
What I recommend is send it back to committee. Like Marty said, the sign code people did a good job. We thought they didn't go far enough. And I really think we'll be back here next year if we don't take it back.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm going to vote against it.
Okay.
But the reason I'm going to be voting against it is because this seems like an ordinance that's going to be very helpful to Lamar, while at the same time it's going to hurt your competition. Can you respond to that?
Well, again, you know, we don't care what kind of sign code you pass. You know, we're going to, you know, darn if you do, darn if you don't. The only thing we ask is that sign code will be applied fairly across the board. What you do for Lamar, you do for our competitors. What you do for our competitors, you do for us. And if I might add, the prior gentleman about digital billboards, let me just clarify something. According to state statute, they can't blink, flash, or scroll. So you got to have a static message on there for 6 seconds. And that's totally something different that, than what the on-premise. On-premise sign is a, well, you know, it advertises on-premise signs, on-premise business. You know, we just think it doesn't go far enough, Mr. Staggers.
One other question, if I could ask, what percentage of the market do you have in Sioux Falls for billboards?
Oh, we're the major player.
75%?
Probably.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
A couple of quick questions for Shauna or Rick, if I could. So the moratorium ends when?
Help me out, Rick.
October 8th.
October 8th. Thank you. October 8th.
Thank you. And then the concept of a billboard that's up, the comments have been made that once it's up, it's kind of forever up. If the landowner who has the lease on that sign says, the lease is up, I don't want it anymore for one reason or another, what happens?
That's between the property owner and the sign owner. And if they can't come to terms, then the sign is removed by the sign owner.
Right, okay. And then the 500 feet, where did that number come from?
It was a very not heated, it was a very robust conversation about what that distance should be between sensitive uses and a new sign. And there was currently the spacing criteria for between signs is 600 feet. We looked at different dimensions for that distance and 500 feet for the future opportunity districts. Where the current signs are now, you couldn't have a spacing criteria to sensitive uses. You would put the majority, like close to 90% at 500 feet, out of compliance. So, you know, then we said, well, 150 feet or 125 feet, that's the dimension of a residential lot, and that wasn't enough for future. So where we ended up was having that spacing criteria in future opportunity districts, but it does not apply to the 10 here that we're asking you to adopt this evening. But generally, I would say, in any ordinance, you have the citizens on this side that want more restrictions, and the sign contractors that want loosening. And somehow, in the middle, we've got this ordinance. So no, both sides are not completely happy with this. That says to me that there's some kind of balance in there.
Good. Councilor Jameson.
Thank you. The other couple quick ones were the cap. I knew that once the moratorium was agreed upon, we bounced some ideas around really what would we do. The cap was that considered by the committee?
Absolutely. And it didn't gain any momentum. The opportunity districts is the direction that we, as a facilitator of the discussion, we did discuss, there was other jurisdictions, Rochester, I think Des Moines has a cap, but that was not what the study group nor the momentum was to come up with opportunities where we would find that the signs would be appropriate.
Thank you.
Councilor Colley.
I would just like to add to that, but before I do, again, I'd just like to thank the study group members of Sean Irvin and Greg Neitzer, who you heard from this evening, and Dana Losky, who is here also this evening, Kim James. Obviously, Shauna's help and Jeff's help, Jeff Schmidt's help, Director Cooper, and Assistant City Attorney Danny Brown, who certainly earned his pay earlier tonight. Not that you didn't do it earlier in the day, too. But, and then obviously the sign company reps were there as well too, and they did have opportunity to voice their opinions at meetings 2 through 5. Meeting number 1 was just basically for discussion among the committee, and there wasn't any public input. So there were no restrictions in terms of what they could contribute, what they could send to any of the committee members. at that time before or even after meetings had been concluded. And then, most importantly, we did have a number of citizens that participated in the process, and we did listen, as Greg had mentioned, we did listen to them, and we did try to strike that balance. Addressing the confusion, I don't necessarily believe should be any confusion associated with the proposal. The existing opportunity districts are already well defined, and anything beyond that would then have to adhere to the additional 500 feet from the sensitive use areas. And if we had applied that across the board to all the existing sites, then we would have run into the issue of many, many signs being considered non-conforming, which we didn't want to do. I guess to address Councilor Stagger's concern about a monopoly, it was actually some of the smaller company representatives who had expressed some opposal to some of the suggestions that were made by the Lamar Company. And Greg and Shauna can confirm this if they wish, but they were concerned that some of those would actually strengthen what they considered to be a monopoly on the part of the Lamar. So it was really the exact opposite of your concern, Councilor Staggers, but you can ask the other members that same question if you wish. I guess I'm available for any other questions.
Yeah, I guess.
Councilor Staggers, if I can.
Okay.
Councilor Bach, anything? Councilor Anderson Jr.?
Yes, I have one question on the, one of the things the Lamar person said about the construction of the
poles.
The poles being either monopole or wood.
Yes, sir.
I guess, could you speak to that, Shauna? What were
We
we thinking
did
on
discuss that very briefly at one meeting regarding the criteria of the sign structure itself. But the study group found that it didn't gain any traction. Really what they were trying to facilitate is where is the location of these signs appropriate and where could we carve out some opportunities for new signs. It wasn't the sign or citing it on the particular property itself that was discussed. So it was brought up by the sign contractors. It just didn't get any traction from the study group. There wasn't really an issue there. So they didn't pursue it to come up with that criteria.
Thank you.
Councilors, before I go back to Councilor Staggers or Councilor Jamison, any comments? Councilor Staggers?
Yeah, I was wondering, do we have any other billboard companies here tonight other than Lamar? Okay. Okay. Well,
a representative from Daktronics is here, but
because I mean, we got Lamar's perspective, and we got the committee's perspective, but with these other small companies, some of them are pretty small, aren't they? We don't have any.
Not here tonight, Councilor Staggers. They're not here tonight, but they were represented at those other committee meetings. They did attend several of the meetings. I want to say almost all of them. Two different companies besides Lamar. So I don't know why they're not here this evening.
Yeah, if I could just ask one other quick question then. How many billboard companies do we have total in Sioux Falls? We have Lamar, and then we have these other smaller ones.
That actually operate the operation of the signs, I would say 5, maybe 6.
Okay.
Councilor Jamison, did you have a follow-up question, sir?
More of a comment. Earlier, I was going to propose an amendment to require the monopole be a part of the design. And through discussions with Shauna and Rick, it appears as though all the sign companies are generally following that monopole design. And it probably was never in our brain when the committee met, really. It was all about distance and locations and height and stuff. And they did that. But based on what I've heard after meeting with individuals before the meeting, it appears as though it's kind of regulating itself. We don't need to worry about the wood poles being built. So I know it was asked by others, you know, you don't want 4 poles of wood. It wouldn't look nice. And so, and like Councilor Kiley recommended, later on, if maybe we see a problem, we could readdress that. But for right now, I think this is pretty solid.
Councilor Kiley, would you want to make a motion, please?
Move for approval.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you. Councilor Kiley's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. A roll call vote, please.
Is there an amendment? Did I?
No, he was considering it and he thought it was unnecessary.
Okay. Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
That is passed 6-1. Item 44.
Item 44 is an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 160 Zoning, Subchapters, Definitions, and Form UT1 Basic Utilities pertaining to basic utilities and tower utilities. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Good evening, Jeffrey Schmidt representing planning on this item. There's many types of towers in the City of Sioux Falls. There are telecommunications towers, broadcast towers, antenna support structures. There's a new type of tower that would like to come into Sioux Falls, microcells. So for those towers, we've allowed them in the UT form. This is an example of a microcell, and we've defined them. And then the next slide, please. So in there, here's the standards that we've put in a UT form. They would be allowed for permitted special use as long as they meet these standards. The standards are very typical to what we're requiring in the UT2 form for telecommunications towers, in that they have to be 600 feet away from all other towers. And you can see the other standards. Planning Commission recommended approval.
Jeffrey, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
So a motion to approve this item and has been seconded. Any discussion?
Mayor.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Motion to amend by adding under Section 1 the title, Section 160.005 B definitions.
Second, Erpenbach.
So a motion to amend this item and has been seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Anderson Jr.?
We have to vote on the amendment.
Did you have some discussion on it, sir?
No.
Oh, very good. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
That amendment is passed 7-0. Any others? Councilor Anderson Jr.
Motion to amend the definition of microcell by replacing a cell in a wireless communication network with a microcell tower is a wireless communication network, and inserting the sentence, a microcell height should not exceed 35 feet at the end of the definition.
Second, Erpenbach.
There's been another amendment made. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson? Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Kiley?
Yes.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Motion to amend by adding the definition, tower height, the vertical distance above grade to the highest point at the tower, including the base pad and any antenna.
There's been an amendment recommended. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Kiley?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Motion to amend by deleting the sentence in 160.392, section B1A2, no ice bridges with all connections to the antenna support structure underground.
Second, Erickson.
There's been a motion or an amendment as well as seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Karski? Kiley?
Yes.
That amendment is passed 7-0. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Motion to amend by replacing microcell with microcell tower in 160.392B3 and replacing 160.392B3A with the following sentence: microcell towers shall not be within a 600-foot radius of any other tower.
Second, Karski.
There's been an amendment recommended. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Council, any other amendments? Let's vote on the main motion as amended, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
The main motion as amended is passed 7-0. Item number 45.
Item number 45 is the second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations.
Tracy, welcome.
Good evening. Tracy Turback with the Finance Office. Mayor and members of the council, item number 45 and item number 47 both relate to the proposal to expand the scope of the indoor aquatics facility project to include an outdoor splash pad to the facility. Item number 45 is the supplemental appropriation that would increase the current budget by $365,500. Again, those funds would be used to provide for the cost of adding an outdoor splash pad to the project. The funding source for this supplement would be from the unobligated balance in the capital fund remaining from 2014. Thank you.
Tracy, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? Greg, welcome.
Sorry for taking, Greg Knights of Sioux Falls. Sorry for taking all your time. This is the last time, I promised. I'm really torn on this for a few reasons. I was adamant earlier that the outdoor splash pad needed to be approved. The reason I was so insistent was because it looked like the rate structure of the indoor pool was going to maybe preclude a lot of the kids in the neighborhood. So when I see a proposal to construct the splash pad, I'm inclined to support it, but there's a couple things that concern me. First, it sounds like the splash pad is going to be attached, let's say, behind a fence to the building. I could be wrong on that. This seems like it continues to be a moving target. If it's behind a fence and it's part of the indoor facility, I'd hate to, but I would have to vote no. I would have no choice. Because the main purpose of this splash pad was I wanted to make sure that there was access for all of the kids in the neighborhood, no matter what their income was. And if it just becomes part of the complex, then it doesn't solve the problem. We haven't even set the indoor pool rates. I have no assurance what the rates are going to be. And then let's say you set them and make the rate model. A year later, another council could change it. And here we are again. We've spent $400,000 on a splash pad that not everybody can use. My point was I just wanted something freestanding that all of the kids in the neighborhood could use. And they already talked about the water splashing on the building, so it would behoove them to move it over, and then they don't have to clean the windows. The other thing I guess that bothers me is, so when I was watching all these educational sessions, going around working on shaped places, all of the renderings always had a splash pad in it. That was always in the pictures. And we were told it was going to cost $19.4 or something like that $1 million. Now, they may have nuanced it and said, well, this is an estimate. I don't remember exactly what the wording was. Anyway, they said 19.4. That's what they told the voters. Now we're at 23-something, and now we're talking about adding another $400,000. Well, so we're already $4 million. I don't know if you want to call it. If you don't like the word over budget, we're over. If it wasn't, it wasn't a budget at the time, we're over what we told the voters. And we still didn't somehow wrap the splash pad in it. Where did it go? It was in the original renderings. So unless it can be freestanding without a fence, I have no choice if I'm on the council but to vote no. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Mr. Dennison?
Bruce Danielson, and I promise this will be my last time tonight too. One of the things that still irritates a lot of us that fought for the outdoor pool last year was that was the only thing that was on the ballot because we wanted to maintain a neighborhood pool in that neighborhood.
And when the director of the parks and the other individuals would get up and talk, they kept talking about it being a community pool, as if they're going to exclude the neighborhood kids and the neighborhood people from being able to use it fairly and evenly. There's another thing that I caught in a meeting recently where they started talking about the occupancy load, and that they were going to put a fence around this splash pad if it ever happened, that then it would be part of the occupancy load. So if the summer swim pass program passed for the indoor pool, we were going to all of a sudden have it on par with the other neighborhood pools that are around town, and we might overload the pool. And well, if we have a splash pad, that's going to overload the occupancy load. If there's no fence around it, there's no occupancy load. You know, they can set up some kind of an arrangement to have these kids go in there. But I also remember some of the discussion about all these fantastic things that were done when we were discussing this project with Councilman Hunsaker and all their fancy reports. And in this whole process, since the election last year, we've never heard one word about all this fantastic stuff that Councilman Hunsaker did for the City of Sioux Falls and this expensive report that was done. Nobody ever brings them up again. Any of the cost estimates that they had, none of the stuff is brought up. And so now we're supposed to go ahead and approve another $365,000 expenditure on a pool that is already over budget, has been well planned according to Councilman Hunsaker, and now we got to go back and start all over again, putting some more money into it. This pool is going to be the $30 million pool by the time it's done cleaning up the park and everything else. And I know there's a lot of laughter that goes on when we talk about this, but there were promises that were made last year in the election, and we're not seeing any of these promises being kept. And that's why people like me have been opposing this pool all along, because it's been a moving target constantly, and now you're having to dip into the reserves again to go ahead and spend more money on something that we were made promises last year, and they've broken promises this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danielson. Council?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
So a motion to approve the item has been seconded. Any questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 6-1. Item 47, I guess, right? Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Mayor, if I might?
I'm just going to read it in the record. Sorry. Thank you,
Tamara.
Tamara.
That's all right. 47 is a resolution amending the 2015-2019 capital program.
Thank you. Tracy?
Thank you. This is the kind of the second and final step of adding the splash pad to this project. This resolution would amend the capital plan to provide that amenity for the $365,500. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Kylie.
Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? Thank you. Councilor Anderson Jr. made a motion to approve it, seconded by Councilor Kylie. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has passed 6-1. Item 46.
Item 46 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, September 8th, 2015 at 7 o'clock p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 57, Garbage and Recycling, to change the composition of the Solid Waste Planning Board.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Mayor Huther. My name is Jessica Lanchin. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Sioux Falls. I'm also here today as the Chair of the Solid Waste Planning Board. Just to briefly summarize for you, the purpose of the Solid Waste Planning Board is to review the current waste stream, assess potential markets for recyclable materials, and develop plans for public education, evaluate the current ordinances, identify waste diversion recycling opportunities. This ordinance revision in front of you would effectively restructure the Solid Waste Planning Board to ensure that all board members are stakeholders who use and benefit from the Sioux Falls Regional Sanitary Landfill. This board restructuring became a top priority for the board for 2015, so that's why I'm here in front of you today. The Ordinance Review Subcommittee recommended restructuring the board. Currently, the Solid Waste Planning Board per city ordinance allows for 3 city representatives, the sustainability coordinator, myself as the chair, the landfill superintendent, the environmental manager, 3 citizen representatives, a waste hauler representative, recycling industry representative, a representative from the South Dakota Multi-Housing Association, and then representatives from each of the 5 counties who use the Sioux Falls Regional Sanitary Landfill, Lake, Lincoln, McCook, Minnehaha, and Turner counties. The final position on the board is for a representative from the City of Madison. However, for the past several years, the City of Madison has been bringing their solid waste to the Brookings landfill. Because of this, the Ordinance Review Subcommittee recommended replacing the City of Madison representative with a member from the business community within the 5-county region who has no financial interest in the solid waste industry but does generate solid waste. The reason for this new board member, it would allow the board to review the waste stream and identify diversion and recycling opportunities outside of the current residential initiatives that we oversee. We feel that this would help us to increase our regional recycling rate and allow for adequate representation from the business community. The other small ordinance revision is to change the language within the ordinances to accurately reflect the city positions on the board. For example, the environmental manager has been recently changed to the environmental/stormwater manager. So it's just cleaning up the language of the ordinance. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Jessica, thanks for talking so fast, too. We appreciate it.
I know it's late.
Great job. Great job. Yes, Councilor Staggers.
Yes, I've got a question. I mean, the City of Madison has been, delivering their garbage and so forth to Brookings. Obviously, they must think they have a better deal than they did with us. Can you explain that?
I don't think that that's the case, and I can't speak for the City of Madison. What I understand is that they took a look at what the requirements are to be a licensed waste hauler at our landfill, and it just didn't fit in with their business model, so they've been hauling their waste to Brookings. There is a hauler that services about 50% of the City of Madison, that's Bud's, and he does bring his waste to the regional landfill. He's always invited to all the Solid Waste Planning Board meetings. I meet with him regularly, and he's represented by their Lake County representative on the board.
Thank you.
Jessica, thank you. Council, would anybody want to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. for this item?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Kylie.
Councilor Bach, Councilor Kylie, thank you so much. A roll call vote, please. Oh, I'm so sorry. Councilor Erpenbach.
Could I just ask
Please.
that next time we don't put the poor girl at the end of the how many times has she been on the end of the agenda this summer? So thanks for hanging in there, girl.
Jessica, again, thanks for talking so fast and staying here. Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That has passed 7-0. Thank you. Item 48.
Item 48 is a resolution adopting the written findings by the City Council authorizing the touch mark at All Saints Addition proposal and the issuance of any related permit based upon the consideration of all relevant factors, and that there is no feasible and prudent alternative to the proposal, and the program includes all possible planning to minimize harm to the historic property resulting from such use.
And I'll just address this quickly. Danny Brown, City Attorney's Office. The resolution basically speaks for itself for what it is. As the council will recall, there was a hearing at the last council meeting on August 18th. We heard from Touchmark on their addition proposal. There was a hearing. At the conclusion of that hearing, this council took certain action authorizing the proposal based on hearing all the relevant factors and making some oral findings. According to state law, there's a certain review process that we have to follow. I explained that at the last council meeting. Part of that review process is to enter written findings, and that's what this resolution is. It contains written findings, which were your determinations in writing in support of your oral motions at your last hearing, consistent with the action you took with respect to Touchmark.
Danny, thank you very much. Is there anybody in the audience who want to speak to this item? Council? Councilor Staggers, yes, sir.
Yes. I'm not going to be voting on this this evening, since I was not involved in the written findings by the City Council. I received a phone call from the City Attorney's Office recommending that I do not vote this evening for this. I have some pretty strong feelings about this, because after all, every one of us up here are elected officials, elected by the citizens. And I think I should be voting for this, or against whatever, but in doing what the city attorney's office does not want me to vote, I will not vote this time. This is the first time, Danny, this is the first time that this has happened, hasn't it? The city council meeting?
That's correct. This is the first time we've ever done this review process that has gotten this far. And
yes,
we've had a hearing and then entered findings consistent with what we decided at that hearing. You're correct.
So,
Councilor Staggers, thank you.
Move for approval.
Second, Karski.
There's been a motion to approve this resolution. Has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 6-0. Item 49.
Item 49 is a resolution approving the 2015-2016 budget for the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District's budget and amending the 2014-2015 budget.
Is Tracy going to speak? No. Oh, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and
Good
City
evening.
Council members. I'm Maddie Burnham, Director of Sales for the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau. I am here on behalf of my staff at the Sioux Falls CVB and for Terry Schmidt, as she is homesick due to pneumonia. We presented our budget today for the 2015-16 CVB bid budget fiscal year and the 2014-2015 supplemental budget. We thank you for allowing us to present at 4 p.m. and we are here to answer any questions.
Thank you. And it should be noted that there's at least 10, 12 members here, so thank you for your patience as well. We certainly appreciate it. It's now almost 10 o'clock, so you've been waiting 3 hours for this. Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve that item, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 6-0. Item 50. Thank you again for your patience. We really appreciate it. Item 50.
Item 50 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Legacy Ridge Addition.
And Diane, you want to go home too. Yeah. And I know, we all do. Shauna, find that paperwork. Let's get out of here. Thank you, team.
This is the same as item 42. It's a preliminary plan for the applicant, Kelly Nielsen. It's in the northwest corner of West 22nd and TLS Road. It's 17.8 acres, and it is to develop single, twin home, and townhome residential units with one lot in the southeast corner reserved for potential daycare. So typical with a preliminary subdivision plan. The drawings in front of you are those that have been reviewed by engineering and planning and zoning, et cetera. And I can answer any questions you have.
Diane, thank you so much. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Karski.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 51.
Item 51 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rescheduling the business of the city from the scheduled city council meeting for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015 to Monday, November 2nd, 2015.
Good evening, Jim David, Legislative Operations Manager for the City Council. This resolution is necessary due to some of you attending the National League of Cities Conference, and it just simply changes the date from Tuesday, November 3rd to Monday, November 2nd.
Thanks, Jim. Is there anybody who wanted to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Anderson.
There's been a motion to approve this resolution. Has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staggers?
Yes.
Anderson? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison? Karski?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 52.
Item 52 is a report of the August 27, 2015 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within major organizational units.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, would anybody want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's been a motion to adjourn. It has been seconded. Before we vote, people of Sioux Falls, you should be aware, it's about 10 o'clock at night. This council started no later than 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's now 6 hours later, and they all do other stuff too. So thank you for your service. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned, Sioux Falls. Make it a great night. Thanks for your service, City Council.
Yeah.